Say, can you see?
Good afternoon, sim racing fans. It is a party in the Poconos tonight on LSRTV, coming to you live atop the virtual Pocono Raceway in Long Pond, Pennsylvania. LSRTV's continuing coverage of the 2015 Real Sim Racing Full Throttle Cup Series presented by Garry Mercer Trucking rolls on tonight for race 12 in the 2015 championship in the Pocono 188. We're on tap tonight for 76 miles around this 2.5-mile triangular-shaped oval. Alongside in the LSRTV booth, along with myself, Evan Pocono, is Justin Rose. Now, half of our regular cast of characters off for the evening. We're glad to have you with us, though, Justin. Pocono is a track unlike any other. It is tying, really, with Daytona for one of the biggest tracks on the circuit. But you got 3 corners, all different banking, and when everybody's out there with a fixed setup, considering that, you'll be surprised how differently all these drivers try to figure it out tonight.
Different is the name of the game here tonight. You got the hottest driver in real sim racing, Jeff Ward, on the provisional pole right now with a time of 56.107 seconds around the 2.5-mile tricky triangle, as they like to call it here. Several unique straightaways like the Long Pond straightaway, straightaways that do exceed 3,200 feet, which is in excess of 2/3 of a mile. And on the Brush straightaway, it's the better part of 3/4 of a mile. So the draft going to be a very, very big factor, and especially on starts and restarts. What a unique racetrack, Evan. We're going to see cars jutting out down to the bottom of the straightaway, trying to gain everything that they can. We're talking 4, 5, 6 wide, especially here at the Pocono Raceway.
Restart's going to be always as exciting. We always talk about how important restarts are as far as when it comes to gaining track position. Pocono, not a very easy place to make passes on. Again, we talked about that, how just different this racetrack is. There's nothing anywhere close to it that we've seen so far. We're not really going to see anything like it till we come back here later on in this 2015 campaign. You take a look at the statistics on this racetrack, you sail them down that 3,740-foot front straightaway, down to corner number 1 at 14 degrees of banking, slide it down the long 3,000-foot back straightaway into the tunnel turn number 2 at 8 degrees. Down on the far end of the racetrack for the start-finish on, and then there's the short stretch in between 2 and 3 at just about 1,700 feet long, and then turn 3 at 6 degrees. So that continued variance means you're not hitting your marks. We know you talk a lot to these drivers, and they'll say sometimes they drive 1 and 2 different than 3 and 4. Well, really keeping them on their toes tonight. And Pocono, not a racetrack that is known to provide, we'll say so-and-so exciting racing on long green flag stretches. It is a very technical racetrack, and it is going to take a very smart driver and a smart and methodical approach to this if you want to be successful. Right now, we're working through our 15-minute open qualifier session to set the field tonight. So far, 36 drivers out of the 40 that are entered into the sim tonight have so far put down a time, and surprise, surprise, not up at the top of the board right now. Justin Rose now is that 89 at Jeff Ward.
Jeff Ward doing a little bit of a different tactic here tonight. He's using the gearbox a lot more, so we may see some gearbox failures as the night rolls along here. 76 laps on tap for tonight, 190 miles, roughly 300 kilometers if you want to make that conversion over to the metric system here tonight from the Pocono Raceway. And like you said, it's going to be different techniques, different strokes for different folks. Do you take that chance and really use that gearbox to get yourself out of the corner, like say down in turn number 1, going down the back straightaway there towards the tunnel turn? Or do you just keep it in 4th gear all the way around and just really hope that that drafting effect really sucks you up to the car getting out of the corner and really save your stuff here for the end of the race?
So we have 3 different quarters. None of them are banked the same. We have 3 different straightaways. None of them are equal distance. There is nothing that is routine about tonight's event. You were talking about that gearbox. That is something else that you guys are going to be able to monitor tuning in live on LSRTV, taking a look on some of the graphics that we have for you, seeing if some of these drivers actually downshifting into the corners. It's going to be a lot more work tonight. I'm going to stop short of relating this racetrack almost to a road course of sorts because you're shifting, because there's different corners and whatnot, but it is completely different, and that is the name of the game tonight, which means that track position is also very important, but equally as so is that cautions throughout the night and pit strategy could do wonders. You could make or break your night. We've seen it sometimes on the intermediate racetracks. You have a little bit of a blunder on the pit lane. This is a long front straightaway. Even under caution, though, you talk about caution flag pit stops, most importantly green flag pit stops. you could make a mistake there tonight that maybe you've recovered at, maybe at a Charlotte earlier on this year. Not really going to be that easy to do it tonight at Pocono. Your mistakes are going to be that much more amplified, so really it's going to take not only that methodical strategy, that, heads-up approach that we were talking about into this race, but it's all about execution as well, hitting your marks and being smart, and being there at the end of 76 laps.
And with that said, Evan, it really is survival to the finish, and the drivers that keep their noses clean, and really with these different turns, I've seen the best of the best. We're talking guys that have dominated the 3 Series in real sim racing here. Drivers like Jeff Ward, David Comstock, all getting very loose and losing the handle on their race cars, especially out of turn number 3, going down that long front straightaway.
And just over a minute left in the qualifier session. We're now going to go down trackside for our opening ceremonies and down to Jaden Berkey for the singing of our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
Back live at the virtual Pocono Raceway, qualifying just now coming down to a close. The cross red flags fly atop the flag stand, and if you're on a lap, try to close it out. But one of the best things that we get to enjoy about this open qualifying session, Justin Rose, now is that nothing is ever guaranteed. And in the closing minutes of this one, just before we stepped away, there's a new name atop the pile, but it is not a surprise. The 89 has been knocked off the top spot, and Chad Cole going to steal this pole position, looks like, in the closing seconds.
Chad Cole, the winningest driver in all of Real Sim Racing's history, does get it done here as the checkered flag flies. The black flag down waving at the grandstand, signifying all drivers are done with their qualifying laps. He seals the pole with a blistering quick 56.053 second lap here around the 2.5 mile tricky triangle.
And with that, all 40 of them total going to hit the grid. 38 take a time, and as they stack them up and rack them up behind the iRacing.com Ford First Mustang pace car, we'll run down through our double clutch starting grid. Just mentioned it there, it is going to be the driver of the number 8 machine, Chad Cole, going to put that machine on pole position with that 56.053. Alongside him in second place, going to be the Utica number 89, Jeff Ward.
Inside of row number 2, driving the number 50 is going to be Pedro Mojica with a 56.162 second lap. And now starting outside of him, driving the Monster Energy Chevrolet, going to be the number 14, this year's leading winner in the Full Throttle Cup Series, David Comstock.
Back on row number 3, the number 5 starting spot going to be the Race Chaser Online Boomtown Sim number 9 machine of Anthony DeBarro. That car in 5th. Alongside him, a little bit of a throwback paint scheme in the Jeff Gordon Jurassic Park turned Jurassic World number 24 Chevrolet. It's going to be Stefan Marinak up in 6th. Great restart for there.
Starting inside row number 4, with a brand new paint scheme here tonight, flying the Duck brand duct tape colors here on the number 23 Chevrolet, going to be Greg Evans. And starting outside of him, winner of last night's Captain Herb Emery Memorial, seen here on LSRTV, driving the Royal Speed Dynamics Ford Fusion, the number 13 of Dwayne Vincent.
Eric Brundy is going to roll the Kellogg's Cornflakes Ford Fusion number 94 off of the grid in 9th position, defending RSR Full Throttle Cup Series champion. And outside of him, the number 20 Toyota Camry, that is Chad Coleman.
Inside row number 6, starting 11th, driving the GTR Simulator from the Steel Horse Racing Camp, the number 11 of Jonathan Cadell, and starting outside of him, driving the number 5, Be a Champion Wounded Warrior Project Toyota, the number 5 of Dan Murray.
Back into number 13 starting spot is the Sim Racing Graphics number 21 Chevrolet of Matt Lacrosse. Outside of him going to be the Snap-On number 1. That's Thomas J. George in 14th.
Driving the number 92 tonight, starting 15th on the inside of row number 8 is going to be Steve Ritter, and outside of him, driving the number 42 in 16th is going to be the 42 of Scott Stenzel.
Mitch Rolo's RCO Boomtown Sim Operation number 96 rolls from 17th. Outside him, the number 87 teammate to that 96. That's Christopher Hurlow.
Starting inside row number 10, driving the number 26 Puerto Rican Meatball Machine, hashtag got balls. That's going to be Jose Gonzalez. Starting outside of him, going to be the number 91, the Nerfinator, Steve Gottschalk.
Continuing on through the field, 21st is going to be Nicholas Cohan, David Lanza in 22nd, 23rd to Nathan Little, 24th is going to be CJ Laver's number 4 machine, and Nick Silver in 25th.
26 on back is going to be the 15 of Scott Simley, going to be 69 Corbin Hemstreet in the 27th spot, 71 David Camara in 28th, 10 Sean Breisman, he's going to start 29th, 44 Glenn Campbell, he rounds out your top 30, 31st score to the 29 of Brendan Mercer, 32nd to 52 of Sean Casto, 43 of Doug Roth is going to start 33rd, 34th going to Kevin Linden, Rich Jett in the 36th, well he'll start 35th, 66 Brian Harvey in 36th, 37 Mark Bratcher in the 38, 78 Brandon Peterson, 38, 2 cars not taking time, the 27 of Paul Cooper, and the 22 of William Kemp riding shotgun.
20 rows deep and 40 cars strong as they roll out of quarter number 3. The pace car dives down to the pit lane, green flag flies, and the Pocono 188 on LSRTV with the RSR Full Throttle Cup Series. Green flag in the air down to quarter number 1 for the first time, and for Pocono standards, calm, 2 wide all the way down. That includes, though, for the top spot up on the outside, Jeff Ward is not letting Chad Cole get away, and now Trouble behind them.
Trouble striking the number 21, Matt Lacrosse, several cars spinning, heavy damage to the 69 of Corbin Henstreet, Dan Murray up against the outside wall, the 1 of Thomas George with heavy rear end damage on that machine, Scott Simley in the 42 with heavy front and rear end damage here. Trouble striking a lot of early competitors here on turn 1, lap 1.
We had just talked about how that one machine had broken that streak of bad luck, and now Trouble down into quarter number 1. We talked about how it was calm and the fact that they weren't 3-4 wide like we have seen at times at Pocono, but it was the 2 wide that got him. Matt Lacrosse really just went up to try to arc the quarter and just door slam the 5 at Dan Murray. Those cars making contact. Dan always in fast number 5 Toyota. He's hard in the fence. The 1 machine's turned around, and then obviously the initial cars that made contact there, down sliding through the grass, was that 21 of Matt Lacrosse. He came back up on track. He nailed Scott Stenzel, and then a lot of other guys getting a little bit of minor cosmetic damage, all things considered, after they kind of got all shuffled up and everybody was getting on the binders and they found each other. However, an early caution flag at the Pocono Raceway, you said it, quarter 1, lap 1. Gonna slow things down and very quickly going to take a slower pace to the start of this race. The replay going to go up on your screen right now. You'll take another look at that most recent incident, but that's what happens when you... It's funny, Justin, because we just spent the whole pre-race talking about how wide that front straightaway is, and the first incident going to come from a couple of guys just fighting for one piece of real estate, really.
Yeah, Matt Lacrosse had Dan Murray up to the outside of him, and the 2 just got together. Murray clips Thomas George, and Lacrosse just goes through the infield like a missile, and really it's hard for him to stop there, especially on the infield here. 44, the 4, 66, 21, 69, 71, several drivers here. We'll get a full list for you here in just a few moments here, but I'm counting at least 10, maybe 12 to 15 cars here involved in this first lap incident.
And with that, again, we do group them up behind the iRacing.com Ford First Mustang pace car. Only takers on pit lane right now. A handful of drivers coming down and getting some cosmetic repairs. We'll get an update from the pit lane for you in just a moment. Until then, we'll take this opportunity to step away for the first time for the virtual Pocono Raceway. You're watching LSRTV's coverage of the Real Sim Racing Full Throttle Cup Series Pocono 188.
Truex in the outside, contact made. 56 slides it at a 4. Who's going to be at the stripe? Dead even, give it to Ryan Truex. Truex is your winner over Tandy.
Back live at the Pocono Raceway on LSRTV, working under our first caution flag on the evening after trouble on the drop of the green flag down in quarter number 1. The total number, 13 cars in one way or another going to get a piece of that one. Doubled up though, and behind the pace car for a restart once again, fueled in the controlled hands of Chad Cole. It'll be Jeff Ward, Pedro Mojica, Comstock, and Navarro as well, the top 5.
Green flag waving in the air, the American Ethanol green flag. American Ethanol, powered by corn. Jack Cole on the loud pedal brings Pedro Mojica with him down that big, long front straightaway. getting ready to sail it off into turn number 1. Going to be the 9 of Anthony Navarro trying to work now to the inside of Jeff Ward in the number 89, and Jeff Ward on that high side uses that third gear. He shifts down into third, and he takes off like a rocket now on the big back straightaway, the long pond straightaway, if you will. Several guys fanning out 2, 3 wide there further back in the pack, and Mojica gets passed by Jeff Ward, and Jeff Ward sets sights on his leader, Chad Cole, going through the tunnel turn.
And contact in that tunnel turn, the 24. There they go. Big trouble now. Hard into the outside wall goes the number 92 of Steve Ritter. That car destroyed the 52, the 15. A melee down into the tunnel turn. One of the toughest ones to navigate at this virtual Pocono Raceway. And caution, just like that, back out. And we mentioned we had a 40-car field. That's not maxing out on what we've seen so far this season. But as soon as something happens, just a little bit of contact, there is no way that any of these drivers are able to get around it, and caution flag is back out. The contact started back at P6. It was the first side-by-side fight. Dwayne Vincent on the inside of the 24 of Stefan Marinak. 13 Roll Speed Dynamics Ford Fusion slides up, and a hell of a save by that 24. By the 13. Unfortunately, behind them, it is the number 94 machine of Eric Brundys, who can't get on the binders enough after it looked like that 20 of Coleman actually got into the back of the 11 in front of him. Checked that machine up real quick. Coleman got turned around, and then they went off into the grass, and then again that checkup, which is the same thing, Justin, that bit a lot of cars in that first incident, ended up turning that 92 head on into the fence, and he collected a couple of other cars as that machine came to a rest really in the middle of the track.
Yeah, tough luck for several drivers. You got the 52 of Sean Castle just piling in after the fact with a couple other drivers. I'm going to see there was a car that was lagging there at the back of the pack there. I can't quite get the car number, but my count right now is 8 cars involved, including defending RSR Full Throttle Cup Series champion, the 94 of Eric Brundys. Heavy front end damage on that Ford Fusion, and he's going to have to take that to the attention of his pit crew to get that kind of banged out. And that's going to put about half the field already in just 5 laps with damage of some sort on their cars. I'm counting the 13 of Dwayne Vincent involved in that, along with the 24 of Marinak, which that was what started the big bind up there. And the 94 of Eric Brundys piles right in the backside of the number 20 of Chad Coleman, and that starts the second melee underneath the caution flag. Now, for the second time, the second Service Master Clean caution, half the field hits pit road, but all the leaders staying out. Drivers that actually made the biggest move of the race right now. Steve Gottschalk in the 91, he almost creamed the spinning car, the number 92, and just about lost that Nerfinator machine. And boy, that's going to be a big save of the race, especially if that benefits him, putting him up inside the top 10 when it's all said and done tonight.
And at least 5 cars are out of this race at the moment, at least 5 off of the lap. I know that Sean Breitzman, he is 4 laps down, still out there. Steve Ritter has officially retired. Thomas J. George is still there, but again, his car severely torn up. The good news is they don't have much interference as far as getting air to the front of those cars, because many of these guys don't have a lot of body work left after that. So the first time, caution flag down in 1. This time, caution flag down in 2. And we're slowed them back down for the second time tonight, just now on lap 7. At, about the 10% mark in this race. 2 very early cautions. And that first one, which again was contact down in the quarter number 1, evidently taking responsibility for that was the 21 of Matt Lacrosse, said that it was absolutely his fault. He took responsibility in the SRG Chevy. He's down on the pit lane in 28th, destroyed. No consolation. Really doesn't help his case out, doesn't help anybody's case out. Really, a circumstance of a lot of racetrack to work with if you look at it and you look at the dimensions, really how wide it is and how long it is. But there's a sweet spot that you got to get, because it is so difficult to get around here. You guys, try to find that same spot, try to fight for the same real estate. Doesn't necessarily work out. Chad Cole, though, smooth sailing up front for the DeWalt Chevy. He is continuing to lead this event after being third fastest at practice. He leads right now after qualifying on top of the board. But 11 races through this RSR Full Throttle Cup Series Championship. Let's give you an update on that points championship as we go right now. And we'll head to a chase later on in 2015, and that's going to make the end of this season a lot fun. But as they sit right now, based solely on points alone, your points leader remains Dwayne Vincent, as it has for quite some time now. He tops the pile with 385 total accumulated points. Big number there, though, that I've noticed. No trips to victory lane quite yet for Dwayne Vincent. 7 top 5s, 8 top 10s, and 13 starts. And those that number includes the preseason races, the shootout, and the duels, etc., which is why, totaling it over round 12 tonight. But it is interesting, Justin, how Dwayne Vincent can come in here. He can continue to lead the points when guys like David Comstock behind him, guys like Jeff Ward, throw some other names out there, Chad Cole and others, have a better average start than him. In the single-digit numbers, have more wins than him, but the end result is what is mattering for that 13, and that is just kill him with consistency at the moment. If he can't get a win, he should be able to get into the chase based on those points, but, you talk about this 13 kind of like we have with this one machine the past couple of weeks, how strong that one machine has been, and they've just had issues. Thomas J. George finally breaking through at Charlotte a couple of weeks ago. I feel like you got to put Dwayne in that same category.
Dwayne, Mr. Consistency, just like what the 24 Amerinac is doing in the Outlaw Truck Series on Wednesday night. It's just killing everybody with consistency, not necessarily putting his vehicle in a bad position, but that right there, the reason for that caution right there, the second Service Master Clean caution, I'm going to have to lay the blame on the 13 of Dwayne Vincent for that. Just overdrove the corner and got into the 24 Amerinac there, and nobody's actually claimed the caution, so that's going to send it over to race review after the fact. So there may be the big adjustment of race positions here, especially if the 13 finishes up towards the front.
And that is why whenever we do step away, all finishes are considered unofficial. There have been times where we have talked to people on the podium post-race, and if they are deemed with the cause of a caution, they're going to be dropped down either with an EOL, black flag, whatever the race control determines it to be, and they don't end up with that result. The way it works is we said the 21 claimed the caution. If the driver claims it, there's an incident, the driver fesses up, or the driver feels like they did it, they can take responsibility for it. Their punishment is going to be the end of the longest line penalty. They'll have to go all the way to the back, behind all the lead lap cars, behind all the lap cars for restart, and the story. We've seen time and time again, Justin, when you get these close incidents like this, neither driver wants to claim it. We saw a couple of interesting situations actually late in that 2014 season. Championship guys going at it, they make contact. Nobody wants to take it. It ends up in race review, and at the end of the day, not everybody's going to be happy with the call, but someone's got to take it.
In my opinion, the smartest thing to do here, Evan, is to just take the blame for the caution. You got several damaged cars here, especially at a big track like Pocono. You can recover because there are going to be more cautions. So rather just take the penalty now rather than take the penalty later, especially when it could hurt you. Especially like if you're somebody like Dwayne Vincent and really needs a win to lock yourself into the chase. With that said, the pace car has its lights off the field. All double file here, getting ready to fire them off for the third time. Put them back underneath that American Ethanol green flag here, especially with the field now rolling into turn 3.
We're going to do battle once again for the third time. The American Ethanol green flag get away for the second time after 2 quick caution flags in the Pocono 188. Chad Cole's had smooth sailing so far. He'll be the control car once again on the inside of the front row. Pace car, as soon as it dives down, the green flag flies already on the accelerator. Not a whole lot of leeway at this track in comparison to some others where that control car can really dictate the start. He's still able to get clear of the number 89. Jeff Ward going to get in behind him. But third on back, it's 2x2x2 throughout the entire field of 1.
A lot of drivers all trying to jockey for position, and really everybody staying about where they were when they restarted double file for the first 4 positions on the racetrack onto the Long Pond straightaway. Jeff Ward getting a big advantage on the high side. He's got David Comstock now in tow. May have a new leader next time by, but it's still Chad Cole battling back to the inside, and Jeff Ward clears that number 8 DeWalt Chevrolet. The 14 of David Comstock and that Monster Energy Chevrolet now working to the outside of Chad Cole's number 8. going now into turn 3. The advantage is really going to be on the low side there, so Comstock really kind of hung out to dry on the high side, but the 9 that Anthony DeBarro here, he's trying to make his way up into the top 5 and did there that last time through that third turn. One car going around, it's the 20th Chad Coleman, hard into pit wall now onto the pit road.
And caution flag going to fly for that incident as the number 20 Toyota Camry is turned around. Heavy damage on Chad Coleman's machine. That car was involved in an incident earlier on, had some damage, and it was not of his own doing in that regard. The caution flag flies after contact with, it looks like, number 96, Justin, of Mitch Rollo, down on the inside. Small bobble, the back end starts to go around, and you lose the front end. You step it up the hill to try to catch it, and when there's somebody's left rear there, it does not typically end in a positive manner, and Chad Coleman gets the short end of the straw in that exchange. Saw something very similar to that going on up front when our pole sitter lost that spot. Chad Coleman now sits third on the racetrack. He was on the bottom that entire lap around. Jeff Ward got the outside on him in one, made the pass, and that 8 machine was kind of sliding up the hill. The back end was stepping out. He was scooting up and up and up, trying to find grip in quarter 3, which is something that you talked about before the race, just how loose these guys are getting there, and it looks like Coleman really just a victim of circumstances. So that loose condition is all the way throughout this field, and just wrong spot at the wrong time for the 20 car.
The 20 car of Chad Coleman was actually right around the 7th to 10th spot on the racetrack there, and Mitch Rollo taking blame for that. He's going to drop 14th all the way to the end of the longest line, which is going to be around that 35th position on the racetrack. When we get ready to fire these guys green again, and Evan, Chad Coleman in the 20, not to be confused with the 8 of Chad Cole, tonight's pole sitter up at the front of the field. Chad Cole in the 8 got relegated back to third there when that caution flag came out. David Comstock had a better run going into 3, and he got very lucky with the position of the scoring loop, allowing David Comstock now to be up in second, as a lot of drivers now coming down pit road, just trying to get these fenders bashed back into position here for drivers like the 42 of Scott Stenzel. Really going to have to take use of this caution flag period to really make heavy repairs to that machine to really get it to perform at least a little bit better, especially with the fast speeds here.
And it is that 89 new colors on board that Chevy, most recently on Monday nights with the 76 gas stations on the hood. Unical and Steel Timber Sports as well brings that orange and blue Chevrolet SS to the top of the board. He leads under caution at Pocono Raceway. We will step away for just a brief moment as we pace behind the pace car, come back for the restart. You're watching LSRTV's coverage of the Real Sim Racing Full Throttle Cup Series presented by Garry Mercer Trucking.
Trucking has always been a part of me. It started years ago when my dad and granddad were hauling vegetables to market in Liverpool. The family immigrated to Canada in the late 60s and settled near Alliston, Ontario. I bought my first truck in 1982 and Mercer Trucking was born. Today, Mercer Trucking has over 50 trucks in terminals in Toronto and Los Angeles. Our storage facilities at both terminals can handle any size of distribution needs throughout North America. We service the continental U.S., including Hawaii and Alaska. We run over 120,000 miles per month and some of the best equipment on the road today. We specialize in less than truckload shipments, show freight, we do rush team service deliveries, and haul your refrigerated or heated product. Our regular team service from Canada to California is second to none, and our staff and drivers are among the best in the business. I'm proud of our people and what they can achieve. Trucking is in my blood, it's my livelihood, and it's what I do best.
outside contact made. 56 slides in at a 4. Who's going to be at the stripe? Dead even. Give it to Ryan Truex. Truex is your winner over Tandy.
Back live at Lights Are Off on top of the iRacing.com. Ford first, Mustang pace car under our third, we'll call it consecutive, caution flag on the evening at the Pocono Raceway. You're watching the Pocono 188 for round 12 of the RSR Full Throttle Cup Series presented by Garry Mercer Trucking this afternoon on LSRTV. We talk about the weather temps. You can see, well, it's nice and sunny here. It's one of the days that you would take advantage of the Poconos, the Pocono Mountains, if you were here in the actual world, take some canoeing through the lakes and whatnot. But tonight, when we got 104-degree tack temp, we got 875 plus horsepower stock cars out doing battle, and so far it's been quite the interesting show. 40 of them started, 36 on the lead lap right now. That number looks like it may fall to 33 as a couple of other cars come down to the pit lane, try to get those cars fixed to back up. But for the first time, lead change on that last one, Justin. It was the outside that got the job done. Jeff Ward now going to go to the top spot, including Cal Chevy. He'll be given the inside of the front row. David Comstock made a move from fourth up to second. Monster Energy Chevy starts alongside in second for the restart.
Pace car diving to the safety at pit road. Jeff Ward on the gas pedal loud and hard. He's got the 8 at Chad Cole, literally bump drafting him down the front straightaway. One car rocketing down to the inside, 3 wide. That's the 11 of Jonathan Cadell. Several drivers fanning out, trying to get back in line now for the tricky turn number 1. You overdrive it. It's very easy to drive up into the outside guy there as the 14 of David Comstock now gets around the 89 of Jeff Ward. The 50 of Pedro Mojica also attempting to clear the 89 Unical 76 Chevrolet of Jeff Ward. And how about Greg Evans up there in the new colored 23 there, the Duck Brand Duct Tape number 23 Chevrolet. He's up on the high side trying to work around Jeff Ward now in the tunnel turn.
And everybody tiptoes through quarter number 2. Looks like everybody's still intact for the moment. The top 4 get single filed out. First fight is for P5, and it is that number 23 of Greg Evans up on the outside lane. Crossover in the middle of the quarter, gets on the back bumper to the 9 of Anthony DePardo. He's got to check up, and that opens up the door for the Roll Speed Dynamics Ford Fusion. Dwayne Vincent going to go down to the inside into number 13, a lap now in the books, and they are led by that 14 machine, who now back-to-back times at a restart the outside has prevailed over the control car. The Monster Energy Chevy with Aftermath Motorsports paces the field. Battle for second, not that far away. Looks like applying the pressure to Pedro Mojica. Jeff Ward all over him in that number 89 machine.
A little bit further back, battle for the 6th spot. The 23 of Greg Evans is going to have to yield way now to the 13 of Dwayne Vincent in that Royal Speed Dynamics Ford Fusion. From the One Up Motorsports camp, he gets around the 23 of Greg Evans, and Jonathan Cadell now clears the outside car of the 33 of David Lanza. The 25 of Nick Silver now trying to go to work on Cadell going into turn 3 and gives Cadell a shot into this very flat 6-degree banking rope course style carousel turn. Now coming onto the big front straightaway, 3,700 plus feet now, and you're watching everybody just trying to do what they can and get single file and really rock it down the straightaway. No dramas up front, everybody all single file. First position battle on the racetrack. Looks like it's going to be with the 41 of Nathan Little trying to work on that 36 of Rich Jetton 1.
And a nice change of pace as everybody single files things out for the moment. Doesn't mean they're not still digging. It looks like the 14 pulling a little bit of time up at the front of the field. That gap up to 0.3 of a second. And all it takes is one good run out of a quarter. And with these straights being so long, and again, they're all different lengths. You got the front stretch being the longest one, the back stretch second, and then you got that short stretch between 2 and 3. There's a lot of different opportunities to try to utilize as much as you can. That draft, it looked like a moment ago Greg Evans' number 23 machine had a run on Dwayne Vincent. Dwayne got a lot better through the tunnel turn, pulled a couple of car lengths on him. That simple as they come flying now again down the Long Pond straightaway. So close to that outside retaining wall in quarter number 3. These guys still handling with some loose conditions at the moment. Looks like a battle inside of the top 15 as Anthony DeBarro just now puts down the fastest lap from P5. William Keff, meanwhile, the number 22 Auto Trader Ford, he is under attack, and it's Christopher Hurlow on the move.
Car in the wall. Anthony DeBarro goes around, gets loose out of turn number 1 on the Long Pond straightaway, which is the back straightaway here at the Pocono Raceway. Brings out our 4th Service Master Clean caution here on lap number 18 here out of 76. So tough luck for all of the Boomtown camp here. Most of the drivers relegated to the back of the pack tonight.
So we just mentioned that Anthony DeBarro put down the fastest lap on the night, and then he finds trouble coming out of quarter number 1. So I guess I'll claim responsibility for that one and cursed him as trouble for the number 9 machine. Good news for everybody else around him is nobody else involved in that, but it looked like Anthony may have not taken the run he wanted down to quarter number 1. He was all over the back of the 8 in front of him. Chad Cole overshot his entry a little bit, and you get a little bit of a variation of what you can and cannot do with these guys pushing it on such the ragged edge. Did not work out. Just got a little bit sideways. As soon as you overcorrect, hard into the fence, down through the grass. Nobody else involved. Single car spin at a quarter number 1. Going to put us under the caution flag, and that car's going to be able to maintain its lead lap status. But he joins an ever-growing list now as we approach 20 laps into this race of drivers that are out there at Pocono Racetrack that is pretty aerodynamic sensitive when you look at the size of it and the speeds that these guys are running on the tail end of these straightaways. Grows that ever-growing list of drivers that are working around here with damage. Guys up front, though, staying clean. We have yet to see leaders really come down for pit stops. We'll see if David Comstock may consider that here on lap 19.
David Comstock has a lot to consider, but the pits were open the last time by, I do believe, maybe this time by, we'll find out here when the flagman gives him the green flag, signifying that pit lane could be open. So we'll see if the leaders do come in for service here. Fuel run here can only be roughly in the neighborhood of 30 to 35 laps here in these smaller 18.5 gallon fuel cells. 650 horsepower now with the tapered spacer with the 2015 rules package for the Cup cars. So as really, Evan, what happened here for that last caution, I think is what we're seeing is guys really getting aggressive with the use of the gearbox, and that's really what bit Anthony DeBarro there on that shift from 3rd into 4th. Got a lot of wheel spin coming out of turn 1, and that's what is going to be eventually going to end the evening for the number 9.
Chad Cole, Greg Evans, Nick Silver, and others stay out. The 24s out there as did a 94, but David Comstock, who led at a quarter number 3, he brings everybody down for the most part, down to the pit lane for the first time on caution flag service. That's not maintenance, we'll call it, on tonight. Right side tires only for the number 14. Looks like he may have been the only driver to come down pit road to not take 4 fresh Goodyear Eagles. And although we may just be past quarter distance, you got drivers that have stayed out. They can do that. Some of them from having pit earlier on, some of them just staying out. You got that 14 machine, the lone guy on 2 tires, and now you'll see how important left side tires are, and because he's going to be on 2, but everybody else that came down the pit lane pretty much taking 4 tires. Interesting call from that Aftermath Motorsports Chevy at Comstock.
It may be interesting indeed, but Evan, one thing you have to consider is the fact that we've only had maybe 5 total laps underneath the American Ethanol green flag here. Yellow fever here in the early running here as we're getting ready to complete lap number 20 of 76 in the Pocono 188 here on LSRTV. So left side tires for the 14. Maybe the smart call to keep them up towards the front there with several other drivers staying out. We'll get the order reset for you here when the field refreshes across the start finish stripe next time by. But Evan, that may be the smart call here, especially with just 5 green flag laps.
An 8.5 second stop for David Comstock. He'll go from the top of the board, slide significantly further back in the pack. You'll see the scoring pylon update as we cross the start-finish line. Lights of the pace car, keeping an eye on those. But Chad Cole staying out, and he will be your leader coming to this next one after falling back a little bit earlier on. And now we've seen back-to-back times on 3 caution flags. This one going to be the 4th that we're working right now. Lights stay on the pace car, so at least one more circuit around before the lights go off. The outside has been the place to be, which is very interesting because when these guys got single filed out, everybody went down to the bottom. But the big thing is, when you come off the corner, they swing wide, and they really try to work corner 1's 14 degrees of banking. 2 times in a row now, your race leader has been the place to not be in. Chad Cole's going to find himself there. This could set Greg Evans up for a good time. The 23 going to be in that P2 spot.
Greg Evans in that duck brand colored Chevrolet here tonight, usually flying a different set of colors on that machine. Brand new sponsorship for that number 23 of Greg Evans. So Greg really running strong here in the early going. Has been up in the top 5 to top 7 all race long. So looking for good things out of him, as he did actually take home a victory here not too long ago here in the Full Throttle Cup Series.
So from the top of the pile to 13th is where the 14 of David Comstock will land. That means the drivers in front of him, and you can see the running order continuously go atop your screen on our LSRTV ticker. But it is Chad Cole up front, Greg Evans, Nick Silver, Stefan Baranek, Jose Gonzalez, Eric Brundys, Glenn Campbell, Nathan Little, Thomas J. George, Chad Coleman, Steve Gottschalk, and Mitch Rollo are the top 12 that did not elect to come down to the pit lane. And again, some of those drivers had pitted earlier on under some of these earlier yellows. You look at a name like a Glenn Campbell, started 30th. Great pickup for that team. Nick Silver, another name that we've talked to a couple of times in recent weeks in RSR Full Throttle Cup Series competition. Not happy with the qualifying that team has done. Well, they started tonight 25th, up to 3rd right now on that little bit of a strategy call, hoping that maybe he can get himself cycled up on a cycle with our leaders, and up right now, at least where he says 22 spots in the positive. I like that call rather early on in this event. And again, you made a good point, Justin, that we really haven't ran all that much under green flag conditions. So if you're a guy like a Nick Silver up 22 spots, a Jose Gonzalez up 14, a Glenn Campbell up 23, so on and so forth, Nathan Little, Thomas J. George, Steve Gottschalk, some other names that are going the right direction, you got to love the idea of making that strategy call early. Why not? Give it a shot.
But yet you have to think of the drivers like the 14 of David Comstock, the 89 of Jeff Ford, these guys on newer tires than the guys in front of them. Half of these cars having heavy damage, especially the one of Thomas George, missing the entire back section of that number 1 Snap-on Chevrolet. George involved in that turn 1, lap 1 incident, so heavy damage, especially with him. The 44 also has damage. The 94, Eric Brundys, also has front end damage, so a lot of these guys may present a lot of problems for drivers like Jeff Ford and David Comstock.
And nonetheless, damage or not, he's going to have to, or he's going to get through them one way or another. At least that's what he'll say if you try to ask him. He's going to want to fight his way back through the field. These guys aren't going to want to let him do that. And if we've seen this much damage and this much shuffling of the running order through the first 20 laps, these next 3 quarters are sure to continue to shake up these guys as they run at the moment. But Chad Cole trying to do what the leader hasn't done on the last 2 restarts, and that is maintain P1 for just 1 circuit around the racetrack. Again, a lot of these racetracks as we head into 3, that control car has anywhere from really 2 to almost 7 seconds at some places to dictate when he wants to go. Here at Pocono, the second the pace car gets down and out of the way, green flag drops. That's it. Keep an eye on Greg Evans, number 23 Chevy, to try to challenge the field. Cycles out of quarter number 3 pace car. Gonna dive down to the safety of pit road. Cole on the loud pedal. Green flag flies once again, and a great jump up to about 3-4 car lengths of gap down to 1.
And that gap still extending now, going in down this long fresh straightaway into turn number 1. The second spot really up for grabs now in that turn number 1. It's going to be the 25 and Nick Silver in that Ford Service Ford Fusion on the bottom side, with Greg Evans in that Duck brand duct tape Chevrolet up on the high side, getting a big run now down the 3,200-foot Long Pond straightaway, the back straightaway, if you will, heading towards the tunnel turn. And Nick Silver gets a strong side draft now, pulls just about even with Greg Evans going into the tunnel turn, and Greg Evans with that deeper run into the tunnel turn takes that second spot away from Nick Silver, as Silver relegated back to third, while Marinac is up there in fourth. And look at now the 26th, the Meatball Mobile, and that's Jose Gonzalez. He's up front now as the caution flag waves once again on lap 23.
Smoke and cars scattered down in quarter number 3, a couple of them up against the outside wall, one of which is the number 33 Amp Energy Chevy of David Lanza. That car heavily torn up. Mark Bratcher's number 38, not all that bad, but he's come to a complete stop after trouble down into quarter 3, back under the caution flag. We go at Pocono. It started in what was a double file battle, all with the number 91 machine, and we'll work on getting that replay up for you in just a moment. But 91 Steve Gottschalk on the outside of the 50 car, and looked like he might have been trying to get on the brakes a little bit earlier and even cycle in behind that number 50 of Pedro Mojica, as this battle was just outside the top 10. Replay going up now. He ends up getting on the binders, and somebody got into the back of him, and once again collecting multiple cars. Looks like at least 5 in that one.
Caution going to be sent to the car of Mitch Rollo. He has disconnected from the server because of that 2-car incident. Trouble striking the 89 of Jeff Ward as well. A heavy front end damage on that machine, and that's really the first lick of bad luck that Jeff Ward has really had now in about the past 2.5 months in Real Sim Racing. He really could have done no wrong, just in the wrong place at the wrong time. And initially a 4-car incident with the 78 of Brandon Peterson in the 78, again piling in, along with, I do believe that's going to be the 38 of Mark Bratcher getting a piece of that as well. So 6 cars involved here in this lap 23 incident down in the 3rd turn.
And as we get another swing of caution flag pit stops, mainly for repairs, the battle of attrition continues at the virtual Pocono Raceway. Under yet again another caution flag. For the moment, we'll step away once again on LSRTV. Come back for the ensuing restart. You're watching RSR Full Throttle Cup Series action as well on LSRTV. The Pocono 188 right now, 24 laps in. The race leader at the moment is Chad Cole.
Here's the thing that makes life so interesting. The theory of evolution claims only the strong shall survive. Maybe so. Maybe so. But the theory of competition says just because they're the strong doesn't mean they can't get their asses kicked. That's right. See, what every long shot come from behind underdog will tell you is this. The other guy may in fact be the favorite. The odds may be stacked against you, fair enough. But what the odds don't know is this isn't a math test. This is a completely different kind of test. One where passion has a funny way of trumping logic. So before you step up to the starting line, before the whistle blows and the clock starts ticking, just remember out here, the results don't always add up. No matter what the stats may say, and the experts may think, and the commentators may have predicted, when the race is on, all bets are off. Don't be surprised if somebody decides to flip the script and take a pass on yelling uncle. And then suddenly, as the old saying goes, we got ourselves a game.
Back live at the virtual Pocono Raceway on LSRTV, up in the broadcast booth, myself, Evan Pasoko, Justin Rose, now our executive producer, Laura Lawson, pushing the buttons down in the infield, keeping us on air tonight. Working on what again is another caution flag very quickly. The yellow fever continues early in tonight's RSR Full Throttle Cup Series Pocono 188 for round 12 into 2015 quest for the championship. And Justin, you look at this, we see this, the similar situation, I guess, present itself in many races. A couple of cautions early, and, that may be due in part of the fact that maybe some guys didn't qualify where they want to be. You got fast guys mixed with slow guys nonetheless. Starting to get to a point where do you think that this caution is going to continue on through, and these drivers almost need to kind of prep their strategy to race like this throughout the evening, or are we going to break through and maybe see a long green flag stretch, which, could really throw a curveball into some of the drivers that are starting to get used to this kind of a rhythm?
It certainly could. We may actually break out into a race here at a pacing festival. That's what it's been here in the early running of the Pocono 188 here on LSRTV. And I kind of had a gut feeling, Evan, that when we took that last green flag, that one of the drivers that had been up front was going to be in trouble of sorts when just put himself in the wrong place in the wrong time. Well, again, that's the 89, the Unical 76 machine, and Jeff Ward relegated to the back of the pack with heavy front end damage, so that in effect will end his night unless some of the leaders get damage here, because we're over half the field now with damage of some sort on their race cars, and that may actually play into the hands of the leaders to really need to break away from this pack, especially if we do get a long green flag run. Lights are out on the pace car field getting doubled up. A couple of drivers coming down to get service, but most of the leaders all staying out, especially that 14 of David Comstock, who only took the 2 tires that last time by. He is going to restart in the 11th position on the inside of Pedro Mojica, who's also right up behind a couple of damaged cars, the 20 of Chad Coleman and the 1 of Thomas George.
And Pedro Mojica, the defending Real Sim Racing Midnight Thunder Series champion, you saw that one a couple of months ago here on LSR TV. That team making its transition into the Full Throttle Cup Series. It was the likes of Coleman and many others. Dominated their first Full Throttle Cup Series event at Talladega, dictated the pace. That team has yet to make it back to really a solid top 5, top 10 run since then. They've had strong cars, but so far tonight, many of them have been on the wrong side of what has been a battle of attrition. So Chad Cole was able to use the top spot to defend the number 1 position down into quarter number 1 that last time by. Once again, Greg Evans going to be on the outside of the front row, the duct tape brand Tom number Chevy up there, the 25, the 24, and the 26 throughout the top 5. Green flag flies, and again, the inside, the place to be across the start-finish line. Advantage, Chad Cole. How about that 25, though? Nick Silver with a nose to the inside on the 23. He challenges for second.
Several cars fanning out about 4 wide behind them, but the battle for the second spot is heating up now in turn 1. Greg Evans decides he wants to end that fight and takes that position away with a strong run now out of turn number 1 onto the Long Pond straightaway. Stefan Marinak now creeping up to the back bumper, the number 25 for the Service Ford Fusion of Nick Silver, now going into the tunnel turn. Top 5 all getting into single file, but the battle for 5th is waging between the 44 of Glenn Campbell and the number 26 of Jose Gonzalez, and Glenn Campbell takes away that position going out of the tunnel turn. Now battle for the lead up front. The 23 of Greg Evans really wants that position, and it's almost 3 wide now out of turn number 3 onto the front straightaway. Stefan Marinak thought about making it 3 wide there for a moment, thinks better of it, now gets back in line, but it's all Greg Evans down the front straightaway with help from Stefan Marinak as they shoot down this long front straightaway into 1.
And that number 23 made that move at a 2. Can't get it done, though. It seems that the outside of about a lane or 2 is the place to be in quarter 1, and that's what gives it right back to Chad Cole. The 8 machine going to go from just hanging on the front straightaway to well through and clear. He'll bring Nick Silver along for the ride. That slides Greg Evans back into 3rd spot. There was a couple of side-by-side fights inside the top 10. 3 wide, though, outside of the top 15. Nick Cohan's able to manage to recover, move back up into the number 13 spot after starting in 21st. but it was that number 53 Target Toyota that was in a 3-wide situation and going backwards as he tries to regroup for what really was a rough restart for that team. The Puerto Rican Meatball Company Chevy going to make a move. The 26 Jose Gonzalez scored in 6th right now to the inside on Glenn Campbell. And if what we've seen so far up front is going to be any indicative of what we see here, not the best place to try to make that move. Well gone goes the number 44 True Moose Chevy, and there goes that 50 of Pedro Mojica getting the job done. Front straightaway and then down to quarter one. Not a friendly place for Placid on the inside, and real close that time at a 1. The 50 and the 26 still doing battle.
Pedro Mojica really using that outside line to the advantage of that number 50 Toyota, really getting around in a strong fashion as he's now working to the inside of the 44 Glenn Campbell, now out of the tunnel turn and into the short chute, the bottom, the place to be in turn number 3, and Mojica does just that. And you see a dive bomb move right behind him with the number 14 of David Comstock on those 2 tires, working now to the inside of the meatball machine of Jose Gonzalez, now out of turn 3, out of the long straightaway, 1 car into the wall, and that's the 94 of Eric Brundy's. The 41 of Nathan Little had to dive down to the inside to take evasive maneuvers, and that's going to allow the 13 of Dwayne Vincent now to get back up into the top 10 there across the stripe the last time by.
Not sure if we've gone a time out of 3 without somebody getting close to, if not getting in that fence. That loose condition not going away anytime soon for these drivers, especially as they do battle. Jose Gonzalez going to get the upper hand in the battle. Now trouble for the 27 machine. That is Paul Nicholas Cooper. He's way up on the high side down the corner, side by side with the 1, and he got way tight and almost put Rich Jett into the fence, was able to get off it, cost that machine significant time, and he'll fall back from those cars that he was just challenging with. Side by side, just outside of the top 10, it is for P10. The 41 and Nathan Little in 10th right now, under attack by Chad Coleman, who's trying to get 2 spots and 1 crack at the bat, going to pick up 2 spots in 1 lap. He'll get it at the stripe, not quite clear. That's going to give the 41 a chance to fight back.
Battle for P2 going into turn number 1. Greg Evans with a dive bomb maneuver clears the number 25, and Nick Silver have to see if he can maintain the momentum now coming up onto the Long Pond straightaway, and it looks like he does with that strong run. Adds about another half a car length in between him and Nick Silver. Marinac thought about joining the party, thought better of it, and actually loses a lot of ground. The better part of 3 car lengths now coming into the tunnel turn, and Glenn Campbell in that True Moose Chevrolet really trying to show his muscle here in the mid stages of this race. The Pocono 188, round 12 of the Real Sim Racing Full Throttle Cup Series, as Glenn Campbell sails it off on the high side in 3, really trying to get a big run, drafting up to the back door of Marinac, coming now onto the big 3,700 foot front straightaway.
Another challenge for P7. Jose Gonzalez saw Eric Brundy's take a peek to the inside. Nothing happened in that exchange after Jose lost a spot to the 14 of David Comstock. So Comstock picking back through the field in that Monster Energy Chevy after restarting back in 14th after he took just 2 tires. Picking through the field, he's made it halfway back home, up to 7th at the moment. Side by side in front of them as Glenn Campbell, not the exit that car wanted at all. Coming off a quarter number 1, no speed. That's going to open up the outside and an easy pass for Pedro Mojica. Going to get the 50 Toyota Camry through on the outside. Those 2 drivers going to swap it out for P5 and P6. But relatively all things inside of the top 10 grouped together. The top 2 not all that far away from each other. Nick Silver under attack from Stefan Marinac. That 24 really driving it in hard, and good to see that car doesn't have any real damage on it after he nearly ended up in the fence earlier. Made a miraculous save, runs top 5 right now, and continues to apply the pressure to the back bumper of the 25 Ford.
On board the 24 Marinac, looking up at the 25 and Nick Silver going into turn 1. That gap right now stabilized at about 1 car length going into turn number 1, and Marinac trying to diamond the corner and get a strong run now onto the Long Pond straightaway, and does just that. The gap now about a half a car length as he's using that draft on the back straightaway to really get up to that Ford Service, Ford Fusion. Now going into the tunnel turn, Marinac with a little bit of left fender damage here on the front end of that machine. Arrow may be a little bit of a factor here, so he's staying right in line with that 25 and Nick Silver, and that's really going to allow the 50 of Pedro Mojica to start creeping his way up into this battle for 3rd.
And he continues to inch further and further forward as these guys continue to battle for third. The leader's getting further and further away. That gap has gone from 0.7 of a second between Chad Cole and Nick Silver to now in excess of 1 second. Big run down the front stretch for the 23. He goes for it. Greg Evans to the inside, side by side for the lead. And well, the inside has not been the place to be these last couple of times to one, but the 8 machine going to back off. He'll give the spot away, and now Greg Evans going to put that number 23 Chevy to the point. Back up now after starting in 7th for the first time tonight, takes the lead. 8 going to give him a shot down the long pond back straightaway. Can he maintain that top spot and get the bonus point the next time around? Looks like he has now control of that spot. 1.5 car lengths out of 2.
1.5 car lengths make it 2 now going into turn number 3, and that's the thing here, Evan. If you make a pass down in 1, it is an eternity to get back to the start-finish line. So you better make sure you have a really good car, because the car can pass you, especially with that long back straightaway. As you've seen, Chad Cole is right up on that back bumper, and he's really in that slingshot zone as he's within about a car length and a half now across the stripe. Greg Evans does get that bonus point now. Cole looking to the inside for a moment and gets back in line now going into turn number 1. It is all Greg Evans out front right now on lap 36.
And that number 23 is going to try to surmount a little bit of a gap. Meanwhile, the 24, who has been on the attack, is under attack. It's a battle for the 4th spot inside of the top 5. Great run again for Pedro Mojica. Last time by, he was able to make a move on Glenn Campbell. Because of it, this time, going to make a move to the inside on the 24 of Stefan Marinak. Going to move that car up in the 4th, and 24 not making up for any lost speed down through the tunnel turn. Going to allow the 14 to get to his inside as well. Comstock drives it in hard down low. That Monster Energy Chevy, you can see, struggling for grip as he slides up and up the hill, trying to keep her down low. It's going to allow Marinak to continue to run in P5 with a good run coming after quarter number 3. 14 has to settle for P6 at the moment. But I'll tell you, Pedro Mojica started up in 3rd, slid back in the field in that earlier first third of the race. That car on the charge. 1 second off the top spot, and such a good drive off quarter 1 every time, closing in on Nick Silver.
Closing in on Nick Silver in that Ford Fusion, the number 25. They're now going into the tunnel turn. Pedro Mojica takes a sniff to the inside, stays right in line now with Nick Silver as Silver hits that little curbing now in through the tunnel turn and gets off onto the short chute. Pedro Mojica still there and thinking of a pass now as he works to the inside of Nick Silver, going into the tricky flat 6-degree banking at turn number 3. Silver way up on the high side, going high, wide, and handsome around the outside. Going to stay in that 3rd position for the moment as Mojica had to really fend off a charge from the 24 of Stefan Marinak down there in turn 3. And on the front straightaway, as we put 37 laps in the books, next time around it's going to be cross sticks halfway in the 76 lap event here, the Pocono 188 here on LSRTV. Mojica still battling with Nick Silver for the 3rd spot out at 1.
Oh, and the 50 so strong at a 1, gave it almost too much, sideways, and hangs on after nearly not only planted it in the outside wall, but almost overcorrected and sputtered down through the grass. He is able to hang on to that Toyota Camry that was about 30 degrees pointed the wrong direction. Keeps her going, does lose 2 spots. Stefan Marinak and David Comstock going to be able to get around him. I was just about to see that run that 50 was getting was almost unfair off of quarter 1, and right there shows you just how hard really he was pushing that machine. So all of those spots that he's made up and that we've documented in the last couple of laps, have to do it all over again. He goes from 1 second off the top spot to 1.9 in the rears and slides to P6 on the racetrack. Up front, things calming down, excluding that. The top 2 slowly getting further and further away. Greg Evans, 0.2 of a second to the good, 2 and change really, back to Chad Cole's number 8 DeWalt Chevy. Looks like that 23 running maybe a little bit of a lower line down in quarter number 1. Do have side-by-side behind them. The number 94 is down low. Eric Brundy's on the inside of the 13 of Dwayne Vincent, the 44 Glenn Campbell in that mix as well. It looks like that 94 machine on the inside is going to be able to defend after Dwayne tried to put a move on him. 13 settles for 10th at the moment, but that 26 machine, you got Gonzalez, Campbell, Brundy's, and Vincent, 4 drivers within about 4/10 of each other right here. Put them 7th through 10th on the racetrack. Very close battle here out of 3.
Very close battle. You got about 6 cars there, all battling for the 9th position as one car spinning, saves it on the pit road. The 41, Nathan Little there, trouble for him as he stays on pit road. He's actually sideways on pit road. No caution flag, all green here on the racetrack. The number 26 of Jose Gonzalez now involved in this battle here as he's working the inside of Eric Lundy's in that 94 Kellogg Sport Fusion, as well as Gonzalez gets a little loose now out of the corner, and he is everywhere but straight. He's in the grass. He's got it saved. One car, Nick Cohan, spinning and behind him in the grass on the Long Pond straightaway. Still green flag here, and now the Service Master Clean Caution comes out for the 6th time here on lap 40.
The 41 ushered down to the inside, and that's not the first time we've seen trouble out of 3. And now Nicholas Cohan goes around in the Target Toyota Camry. Caution is now out after that machine found the outside wall. He's met it a couple of times, really in 3 this time. Finds it in quarter number 1, catches the fence, spins her out down to the grass. Caution flag now back out after what has been the longest green flag stint on the evening, and we slow them down just now past the halfway point in the Pocono 188. Greg Evans, that gap that he was slowly surmounting, got up to about 0.3 of a second. That is now gone, and we'll hold off for a moment on your LSRTV mid-race break because I have an idea that pit stops may be coming up here that could shuffle some of this running order up a little bit. One of the names that we highlighted there that last cycle through was David Comstock. Mentioned what 2 tires would or would not be. He went from 14th to 6th. We'll see what the call may be for that team if they elect to come down pit road. But 30 true drivers out of the 40 that started on the lead lap as we run right now. Caution flag out on lap 41.
Caution flag out, and it's going to be just 33 drivers or so on the racetrack at this stage of the race. Everybody else from 34th on back. 71 of Camara, 78 Brandon Peterson, 38 of Mark Bratcher, the 96 of Mitch Rowell, 52 of Sean Casto, 15 Scott Simley, and the 92 of Steve Ritter. Those drivers all out of the race here at the Pocono Raceway. So Greg Evans getting ready to come back down to the attention of his pit crew as we're in turn number 3. I imagine it's going to be 4 tires and a full tank of fuel. I highly doubt anybody's going to take 2 tires here in this stage of the race here, as we may still need another full service stop here towards the end of the race, as it's working lap number 41, just a few laps past halfway, looking like all the leaders now going to come down to pit road for service.
Last time they came down under yellow, a lot of them jumped out at the last second. Not this time by. Looks like a uniform entry for everybody down to the pit lane. They are going to be led by that 23 of Greg Evans. Chad Cole comes in second. That 8 is going to have the benefit of the number 1 pit stall based on his qualification on pole position. Let's see if that helps that team out at all. The 23 down, right side tires going up for Greg Evans. Fuel is in the car. Left side tire is going to be a 4-tire stop for your race leader. Meanwhile, Chad Cole, same thing at the end of pit road and does that positioning on track help him? Absolutely no challenge for the DeWalt Chevy. Talk about how important track position is. That's what you get from getting the pole just like that to the top spot.
One driver sliding back a couple of spots going to be the number 25, the Ford Service Ford Fusion, and Nick Silver. He's going to go out in the 5th spot on the racetrack. Nick Silver, 14.85 second stop on that machine. A little bit slower than, like, say, the 12 or 13 second stop here from the Pedro Mojica camp in the number 50, and along as the 14, David Comstock, the Monster Energy crew, getting that driver up into the 4th spot. So a couple spots gained for David Comstock on pit road. A couple other drivers starting to fall back, like the 24, the Stephen Marinac, both him and Nick Silver losing 2 spots each on pit road that last time.
A couple of drivers may have come down the pit lane and just went right on through it. We know Brendan Mercer's number 29, Garry Mercer Trucking Chevy, did come to the pit lane. That machine did not enter a stall. No service was done. We would expect that car to come in this time by. They look like they're still trying to get some front-end damage fixed on it. Matt Lacrosse's number 21 did not pit either. That car severely torn up, and then one car in between of them is a lap machine. Sean Casto, pit road not open for lap cars until this time around. So the 21 machine going to be bringing it down pit road. Matt Lacrosse in for service. Looks like the 52 staying out to get a lap back. Brendan Mercer staying out, hoping for maybe a lap lead in the number 29 machine. He will go to the top spot. He'll get that lap lead. I would expect that machine to come down pit road the next time, Justin, because If not, he's working not only with damage, but as well with a race car that really hasn't been to his liking so far tonight.
Yeah, and it's really been the theme of the season for somebody like Brendan Mercer, just really in the wrong place at the wrong time in most of the events in melees that's happened on the track so far in this Full Throttle Cup Series season. Brendan Mercer just out there trying to do what he can to improve his position, try to put himself a little bit further up towards contention to get into the chase here, as just a few drivers have locked themselves into the chase so far this year, but it's really been all about the 14 of David Comstock so far, with 3 wins on the young season out of 11 races contested so far, and Comstock really puts himself in position in this stage of the race to really make that number 4 on the season.
We talk about drivers with multiple wins. Another name on that tally, Thomas J. George, and if you've tuned into a couple of races and they weren't those two, might be a hard statistic to believe. Either it's been your night or it has not for not only that one team. You talked about a guy like a Brendan Mercer just not having a lot of luck. It is very difficult to just flip a switch, turn that around, get the gears rolling. Something that is not very easy to do, and you can see that 29, we keep talking about the Brendan Mercer machine, already been in an incident tonight. He's got front-end damage. The lap car in front of him, Sean Casto, does have some front-end damage as well, back-end damage. But the guys up front, not surprisingly, are the guys with, right now, the cleanest cars on track, which is being a significant ease to their struggles tonight. The lights on the pace car may very well go off this time by. Brendan Mercer is going to bring that number 21 Chevrolet down to the pit lane, get service done. He'll drop to the back of our lead lap cars. He'll be about P32, 33 when he rejoins the racetrack. But this is going to cycle that number 8 machine back to the top spot. He's praising that number 1 pit stall, Chad Cole. Going to lead us back to the green flag as the lights go off, and as the scoring set goes through, we'll give you your LSRTV mid-race break halfway home in the Pocono 188. Chad Cole is atop the pile over Greg Evans, who started 7th, is second right now. Pedro Mojica with a great charge that last run, the 50 machine, back up to P3. David Comstock continuing to surmount his way back forward. The Monster Energy 14 is 4th right now, and 5th on track is that 25 of Nick Silver. That car really gained a lot of spots early on a pit strategy call, and he's doing a good job of holding it.
He really is, and how about credit to drivers like Nick Silver up 20 spots, and look back just outside the top 10, you're going to have that 36 of Rich Jett, who's up about 24 spots from where he started, and a little bit further back, Paul Cooper, that number 27, had a little bit of trouble there on that last run, got really loose and almost lost control of that machine. Well, he's up about 26 spots, moving all the way up from 39th here, as Chad Cole kind of takes the safety lane there through the tunnel turn. Don't know if that was really anything to keep an eye on or not, but Chad Cole pulls it up alongside the pace car, and I tell you what, Evan, Greg Evans really shows like he has a strong car, just like the other drivers like Chad Cole and Pedro Mojica, along with the 14 of David Comstock.
We have seen some of these names up front show that they have the speed to really be able to push that race car, and when it works, they're fast, especially on corner exit. But we've also seen that when you push it a little bit too hard, that wall is never too busy to find you there, and that's what we saw nearly with that 50 on the last time by. Coming up for, once again, another American Ethanol restart as the pace car gets down and out of the way. Chad Cole in control of the field. Green flag flies down the front straightaway, back underway at Pocono as we take lap number 45. And Cole has been one of the only drivers really all night long to be able to dominate that top spot and not allow second to even get a shot at it. He'll do the same thing this time by. It's a battle for second down to quarter 1. To the inside on Greg Evans goes Pedro Mojica, and Cole's clear by 2-3 car lengths.
Cole clear by 2 car lengths, and Greg Evans up on the high side gets the run and the draft down the long pond straightaway, the back straightaway if you will, goes down, gives a little bit of a draft to Pedro Mojica, who stays side by side with the 14 of David Comstock. Comstock now working to the outside of Mojica in the tunnel turn. The advantage to Mojica, gets a little bit of a better run up out of the corners. Mojica almost clear to the 14 Monster Energy Chevrolet of David Comstock, and Comstock really going high, wide, and handsome to really get that strong run down the big 3,700 foot front straightaway.
Everybody with a fairly good exit that time by. First side-by-side fight just at the tip of the top 5. It sees the number 89 machine moving up after that restart lap there. The 7th place car at Jeff Ward going the right direction. He's on the inside to the 24. Up high is Stefan Marinak. And how about splitting the gap, maybe? The 25, Nick Silver. On the outside, that's been the place to be, and won it. Didn't quite get one like he wanted. Dwayne Vincent slices to the bottom in the Roll Speed Dynamics Ford Fusion. He'll make it a side-by-side fight for P5 on the racetrack down to quarter number 2. Looks like he might have to give it up and tuck that car back in line, and he will do so to the tunnel turn. Now right back at it, the 25, no speed off like he needs, and he's about to get freight train. The 13, the 24, 89, and maybe some more company. Gonna pounce all over Nick Silver in 3.
Add in the 24, Marinak, who gets a little loose now on the bottom of that third turn there, the flat 6-degree turn. Especially out of turn number 3, you got the outside being kind of the place to be here, especially when the drivers are using the gearbox like they have just about all race long up front. And these drivers really stacking it up really tight here in this battle for that 5th spot. Dwayne Vincent still has it, but the 24 Marinak really trying to assert himself around the outside, or excuse me, around the inside of the 25, and Nick Silver, who thinks he really wants to keep that 6th spot, and does so, and he does clear the 24 Marinak on the long pond straightaway, and sets his sights on getting that position back from the 13 of Dwayne Vincent now in the tunnel turn.
Jose Gonzalez picks up the number 14 spot from Paul Cooper down the back straightaway. That spot, as those guys get a slot back in line, no harm, no foul. And up at the front of the field now, continuing to take a peek on Chad Cole, is Greg Evans. Again, it was that 23 who ran second to the number 8 DeWalt Chevy on that last green flag stint. Eventually, the 8 just gave it up to him, gave him the inside, backed it off into 1. No issues for Greg Evans. That 23 lost the top spot on the cycle of pit stops, and they're back where they were about 20-25 laps ago, trying to apply the pressure. He's got a push from behind that 50 of Pedro Mojica all over the back deck lid of Greg Evans. Top 3 within 2/10 that last time by. Cole, Evans, and Mojica at 1.
Jack Cole just trying to defend that outside line, just trying to keep it there, as Greg Evans now has a nose on the inside quarter panel of that DeWalt Chevrolet going into the tunnel turn, and Jack Cole just maintains a smooth line now up on the high side there, just kind of keeps a good run, almost yielding the position completely to Greg Evans during that last time by. Evans going to take the inside line now into turn number 3. Jack Cole going to fight back on the outside, going high, wide, and handsome, and does so, and he's going to take that lead back away from Greg Evans, and now 3 wide now onto the front straightaway. Pedro Mojica now gets to the inside of Greg Evans, who gets clear of, Jack Cole gets clear of Greg Evans. Insert David Comstock now in a 3-way battle for second, now sailing off into 1.
It's quite the thing to see who's got a run coming out of 3 and how that is completely different by the time they get down to quarter number 1. They've sorted things out for the moment. Chad Cole hangs on to it, but here comes Pedro Mojica, that number 50 Toyota. We talked about it on the last stint. Went from about 9th position forward, right out of quarter 1. That's the spot where he'll use the run this time to set up Chad Cole to the inside into the tunnel turn. Gonna try to get the run off. He's got a nose at the left rear. May not be able to keep the track position. Does the 8 force the issue? Does he give him the spot? He does. They will go door to door down to quarter number 3, and the outside again, just a lane and a half up. Going to be what prevails for Chad Cole. That 8 contains the lead off of quarter number 3. 50 stays in second. How about David Comstock, though, continuing to go forward? And if anything, Greg Evans, the machine, going backwards. That 23 was just side-by-side for the top spot. Now he's back and forth in trouble down the front.
Nathan Little loses the handle once again off of turn number 3 and parks it on the pit straight wall there on the front straightaway, just short of the start-finish line there, and that's going to bring out the Service Master Clean Caution for the 7th time here tonight. Gets up into the 87, so tough luck finding that number 41 University of Kentucky of Pikeville Chevrolet.
And that's the 2nd time tonight that 41 has been on the inside of somebody that got sideways at a quarter 3, and both times he has not been on the winning end of it, to say the least. Both these cars going to get heavy damage. Christopher Hurlow got hit in the driver's side door. He ended up down on the pit lane. The 41 was slowed on the front straightaway. Caution flag back out at the Pocono Raceway, and it is a very different story than these cautions that we saw earlier on in tonight's event, because this time by right there for Chad Cole, 25 laps to go, starting to get down to crunch time here at Pocono. The 8 is able to maintain the lead. I don't know if without that caution he would have held on to it for long, because Pedro Mojica was all over him, but he'll be able to log a couple more lead laps. You'll see that information up on top of the ticker there alongside Chad Cole's name. He'll add a couple more to that tally and give a little bit more of a cushion to that. Going to walk away with some additional bonus points if he can walk away with the most laps led tonight, and it appears that 8 machine is going to be able to do so. But Pedro Mojica, for a guy that started in 3rd position in this race, runs 2nd right now. Almost look at him as an underdog in this situation, coming over from the trucks on Friday evenings. This 50 machine, if anything we've seen on these last 2 runs, he's here to play.
He sure is here to play, and somebody that may know just how good that number 50 is our driver analyst, kind of making a little bit of a late appearance here tonight. Brian Macklin, what can you tell us about the 50 of Pedro Mojica?
Well, I've had the pleasure of racing with Pedro quite a bit over the last several years, and he's one of the hardest drivers to beat week in and week out. He's very fast at almost every single track we go to, and he knows how to set up his strategy to where he's always going to end up at the front at the end of the races. He's one of the smartest drivers and most respectful drivers out there, and to race against him is always a pleasure because he is consistently one of the hardest people to race against as far as being able to beat him, but he's always respectful and clean when he's racing against you. And we do have these guys coming down the pit road. Looks like they're going to try to get 4 tires and fuel real quick.
They returned to the pit lane, everybody just down the last time, and last time they were in, everybody was in agreement. This time, not the case. Down to the pit lane comes the 8. Down to the pit lane comes Pedro Mojica, and that's about it, guys. Not a whole lot of company with those two.
Not a whole lot of company with them, and this kind of really set up an incident that was very similar to what happened there about 30 to 40 laps ago. Jeff Ward on the wrong side of that altercation going into 3 with the 91 of Steve Gottschalk. 96 Mitch Rollo was well involved in that earlier incident, so we may end up with one of these drivers end up wadded up in something unintentional as we get ready to fire them off green here in just a few laps here from the Pocono Raceway. So again, Evan, I kind of worry a little bit for the 8 of Chad Cole and the 50 of Pedro Mojica. Are they going to be able to keep themselves out of the wrong place at the wrong time?
Well, this is going to be a change into the torch up front. David Comstock, who was just going the wrong direction. Greg Evans, who was just going the wrong direction. They go to the top spot, and it's one of the things that you got to worry about, Brian, as a driver, and you know, it's the classic telltale is if you're Chad Cole and you stay out very well, everybody behind you could have pitted, and you may have just gotten run over in these next 25-20 laps going forward. In this one, he elected to come down pit road. Pedro Mojica came with him, so the 8 felt good for a moment, and then everybody else stuck that line, and it's going to be a lot of track position to make up with a whole bunch of guys who really aren't on all that old of tires when you look at the tire degradation that we've seen so far. Comstock, really one of the big names that comes to mind, took 2 tires earlier on it, was only able to get about 7 spots in 20 or so laps, so these guys that pitted, that 8 and that 50, they got their work cut out for them.
Well, as a driver, I'm really surprised to see those guys come to pit road right there. Their track position on this track is probably the most crucial thing out of any track that we go to. There's so much of a difference from where you're going to be at the front of the field to being back in about 15th place, and it's incredibly difficult to pass here. So I'm really surprised that those guys came to pit road right there. Like you said, they have a lot of work to do. They're going to be back, it looks around to be the 16th, 17th position right now. With less than 25 laps to go, I don't think that was the right call, and they're going to have a very hard time getting back to the front. I like David Comstock and Greg Evans, Dwayne Vincent, these guys staying out and taking a chance. All 3 of them are well on their way to making the chase, and David and Greg already have wins in this series, so why not take the chance and go for it?
The total amount of spots that they're going to drop from P1 and P2 is going to be about 15 total. Chad Cole 16th, Pedro Mojica 17th, and the names that they're going to have to get through, we've talked about, you know, all night long how it's become a battle of attrition. Justin, guys out there with damage, trying to ride around, but I mean, really, there's not a whole lot of names in front of these guys that have damage. There's a handful, maybe 5 of them, but it's big names. You know, look at the guys immediately in front of them. You got Brennan Mercer, Thomas J. George, DeBarro, Hemstreet, Gonzalez, Brundys and company. not going to be a walk in the park, even if they are able to have enough speed on those 4 tires to get back through all these guys. And again, this is assuming that if we don't get another caution and the strategy suddenly changes and, you know, we have a completely different scenario going forward, even if they have the speed, not a walk in the park to pass at this racetrack and do it cleanly and successfully so far tonight, but to do it on the names that are in front of them, no easy task either.
How about that driver in 6th here? Jeff Ward in the Unical 76 machine, the number 89. Heavy front end damage there from that incident several laps ago. They're working himself now back up into the top 6, almost on the verge of the top 10. It's almost like he didn't have any damage at all on that machine, and I'm just quite amazed at what he's able to do with the damage along that ride.
Well, how about David Comstock? It's been quite a night for the Monster Energy number 14 Chevy with Aftermath Motorsports on the deck lid of that machine. Started 4th, and you know, you look at the numbers, he's up 3. It has been anything but all of that tonight. That machine's gone backwards. He's gone forwards. I'm liking where Greg Evans sits, though, right now. You got Dwayne Vincent in 3rd, who's kind of back inside the top 5 after slotting maybe 2-3 spots on these last couple of runs here. And not to the point where he's been out of the conversation, but now right back in the thick of things. Loving what Nick Silver's doing. That car in 4th, continuing to mind his own business in that Ford service. Ford Fusion nearly stole a win at Atlanta earlier on in the year, guys. But Greg Evans, that 23 machine, he has seen the outside lane work on restarts 2 times tonight. They've been able to get around the leader. That car starting in 2nd. Chad Cole really appeared to be one of the only drivers that move wasn't even close to being possible on. If you're that 23, you really got to be up on the wheel, because you don't know if this could be your last shot at really getting at that 14 car.
It very well could be, and with the 8 of Jack Hole starting up on the high side, he's going to have a lot of damaged cars to get around, like the 69 of Corbin Hemstreet, the 1 of Thomas George as well, with heavy damage on those machines. 9th of Anthony DeBarro has some front-end damage after getting into the wall after losing it in the early stages of the race. Lights off on the Ford First Racing Mustang pace car, field in the short chute, 2 wide, several rows deep, and it's all Comstock right now, getting ready to see what he can do at his turn at being on the point here for one of these restarts. Greg Evans has really been one of the strongest cars all night long, and really battling with that 8 of Jack Hole. Really been one of the strongest 2 cars on the evening, so we'll have to see if Comstock can really keep that machine up front.
Right on the money this time by at, we'll call it 22 laps to go in the Pocono 188 pace car. Going to get down to the safety of pit road. Green flag flies at a quarter number 3, and on the loud pedal goes David Comstock. Greg Evans may be caught sleeping. He is not moving forward at all. Nick Silver all over the back bumper of that machine, and as Dwayne Vincent slides into 2nd, we got trouble behind them.
Eric Brundy's going around big time in that number 94 Kellogg's Ford Fusion here, bringing out the caution flag for the 7th time. I do believe 7th or 8th time for sure. Replay going up. You're going to see what happened here on the front straightaway. You're just going to see the 94 getting tangled up with a couple other drivers here on the high side. You're going to see just how lucky some of the drivers were on the inside there as 94 Eric Brundy's goes across the racetrack in a rocket-style fashion. And that's going to put us underneath the caution flag on lap 55. And, you know, it's caution breeding cautions here. Yellow fever reigning supreme once again here at the Pocono Raceway.
It's something that we at times see early and something that we expect late. And they were 4 wide behind them. You knew Pedro Mojica was going to be going at it hard. Unfortunately, in this case, though, Eric Brundy's in the wrong place at the wrong time. Jose Gonzalez trying to make a move and trying to give as much space to the 44 down low as possible. Just hook that 94 around. Down goes Eric Brundy's down to the grass. Caution flag flies, and we slow them back down with a restart on tap for within 20 laps to go. We'll take this opportunity once again, now that we're past the halfway point, to go LSRTV non-stop so you won't miss a thing. Caution flag is out at the Pocono Raceway. David Comstock to the point late in this one. He hopes to walk away with the checker in the Pocono 188. The final 20 laps and more still to come. Keep it locked. You're watching LSRTV.
Truex on the outside, contact made. 56 slides in at a 4. Who's going to be at the stripe? Dead even, give it to Ryan Truex. Truex is your winner over Tandy.
Back live at the virtual Pocono Raceway on LSRTV, you're watching our continuing coverage of the 2015 Real Sim Racing Full Throttle Cup Series presented by Garry Mercer Trucking. Tonight, round 12 from the Pocono Raceway, and the Pocono 188, still working under the caution flag, and lights are still on top of the iRacing.com Ford First Mustang pace car as they continue to get the racetrack cleaned up and back suitable for racing conditions. Comstock leads over Vincent, Evans, Silver, and Marinac. You'll see the continuing full running order continue to go atop the top of your screen through the ticker. But Ryan, we were talking there under that caution flag there on our little bit of a break on the strategy call or lack thereof and what we expect. Chad Cole, Pedro Mojica, they both gained 4 spots the last time by, so if you're a fan of numbers, they should make it to the front, but the closer they get there, the faster the guys they're going to get are racing around, and not to mention the fact that cautions may not play in their favor as well. You're thinking that 8 and a 50, it's a really long shot at this point.
Yeah, I just don't think they have enough time, especially with this caution having come out. Before this caution came out, they had a little bit of hope, but when we go back green, and the lights did go off on the pace car this time, so we're going to go back green when they get back around the racetrack this time. They're going to have about 15 laps. They're not going to have a lot of time to pass these guys, and as you mentioned, the closer you get to the front, the faster these cars are, and it's going to be harder for them to make those passes, and not to mention, if they have more cautions, it's just going to be a very, very tough road for those guys to get back up there. I don't expect to see anybody up front come to pit road this late into the race, so they're not going to have that advantage. They're going to have to get up on the wheel and really go for it. And being 11th and 12th on this restart, they have a lot of work to do and just not enough time, I don't believe. Stranger things have happened, though. They could certainly do something and pull it off, but it's not going to be easy at all.
And the lights now have gone off, so Brett Bodine in the pace car, who may very well become the Goodyear Superior Performer after Chad Cole was unable to continue to add to his laps, led the pace car, pacing us for the earlier portions of this event. And as it looks right now with the caution fever, the yellows breeding yellows mentality that typically happens when you get down to these late rough and tough restarts continues. The 14 machine may just need to nail a couple of restarts, and that may be all she wrote. Did have a little bit of a change-up inside the top 5. Dwayne Vincent's Roll Speed Dynamics Ford Fusion goes from 3rd up to 2nd. It puts Greg Evans's number 23 machine from 2nd back to 3rd after he really did not get going on that last restart before the caution flew, before they made it down to quarter number 1. 14 going to be in control for this one. Let's see what he can do. Let's see what those around him can do to challenge. Outside was real slow last time. That led for some 4 wide back of the pack. We'll see how they sort this one out. American Ethanol, green flag, gets set to fly for the flag stand. Pace car well down and away, green flag back in the air, and we race them down to quarter number 1. Look at the 41 machine up through the middle, back of the pack. A crazy Nathan Little charging 4-5 wide.
Yeah, and as they go off into turn 1, they are still scattering 3 and 4 wide all the way around this racetrack. They are all over the place here. We got a nice little battle for second place as they come off turn 1. Meanwhile, they're still 3 wide back in the middle of the pack. A little bit of contact. Chad Coleman is going to go around into the grass off turn 1. No caution as of yet. It looks like they're going to stay under green here as they still scatter going off into turn number 2.
You look wide at this field. That 20 machine keeps it out of the inside retaining wall and gets back up on the racetrack, but we are not in the clear yet. Still, everybody bobbing and weaving down the short stretch in between 2, now down to quarter number 3. David Comstock is enjoying seeing it in the rear view mirror as opposed to through the windshield. The 14 clear, gone. He is pulling away, and they continue to battle for second now. To the inside on the way Vincent goes Greg Evans. The more they fight, the bigger that 0.3 of a second gap between P1 and P2 may get, but Nick Silver not letting these guys get away at all. It's a 3-car fight for second.
3-car fight for second it is, and it's still Dwayne Vincent's to lose as he has that preferred line on the outside of turn 1. Now going down the long pond, but back straight away here at the Pocono Raceway, and Nick Silver asserts himself now into the 3rd spot, getting around the 23 of Greg Evans, who really lost a lot of ground there, being trapped on the bottom side out of 1 through the tunnel turn. It's still about 5 car lengths between Dwayne Vincent and David Comstock. Can Dwayne Vincent get his first win on the year?
He's searching for it. He's got the clear space, but the question is, can he just run down a fast number 14 machine? The battle now translates from 2nd back to 3rd. That 23 still down on the bottom. Looked like he was going to be able to make the move to Wayne Vincent down low, but the bottom just not working out for a lot of guys tonight. You got to get a little bit off the racetrack, maybe a lane or 2.5, maybe a car width-wise, off of the bottom to make it work. Well, when the 23 is down there, he just can't get that job done. 25 machine, Ford Service, Ford Fusion up on the outside, side by side for third, but caution, now trouble down into quarter number 1. Glenn Campbell, Dan Murray's machine is torn up and more.
Heavy damage on the number 44 rear end missing on that True Move Chevrolet. The 5 of Dan Murray, heavy engine smoke coming out of that machine as well. Tough luck striking that Wounded Warrior Project Toyota Camry down into turn number 1 on lap 63 here. Inside of 15 to go here in the Long Pond 188 here on LSRTV. And Evan, that was some kind of wreck there going into 1.
It was a simple misjudgment. I think you could rack it up as, Brian, the 44, aggressive move down to the bottom. They're side by side in front of him, the 5 and the 87, the 21 and the 9. Glenn Campbell goes to the inside, looking to clear the 87 to Christopher Hurlow. Not like he came up and clipped him. I mean, there was still half a car. Not sure if maybe he was expecting the 87 to check up, but he comes up over the nose of Hurlow, and just an unsuspecting 5 machine of Murray is up there against the wall, and he gets absolutely pancaked into the safer barrier.
Yeah, that was a case where I almost want to say maybe the spotter told him he was clear. That's at a bad angle for the spotters here at Pocono because they're driving away from them off into turn 1. So maybe the spotter told him he was clear, and it was just a case where he started moving up to arc into the corner, and it just didn't work out because there was still a car there. It really is unfortunate, and it destroyed Dan Murray's car, like you mentioned, along with it looked like the 89 or the 87. It was just a really unfortunate wreck, and I don't know. That was a very bad call if the spotter did call him clear, but we'd have to really talk to them to find out.
The end result is Dan Murray's number 5 machine, the Wounded Warrior Project Toyota Camry, on the hook on the pit lane and severely torn up. A night that wasn't one of much glitz and glamour anyways. That machine was running outside of the top 25 at about 31st or so at the time of the accident. His night now going to be officially done. They take that car behind the wall, and they are officially retired from tonight's event. He'll join the likes of many others that are behind the wall so far. Our retirees include, from back to front, Steve Ritter in 40th, Scott Simley, Mitch Rollo, Mark Bratcher, Brandon Peterson, David Kamara. Sean Casto is the only driver off of the lead lap that is still on track. The CarQuest machine, the number 52, 18 laps down in 34th. He'll pick up a spot as Dan Murray falls out of this race. But out of everybody, either you're in a car which it can work to some description, or you're pretty much jumped.
Looking now up towards the front here, David Comstock in that 14 Monster Energy Chevrolet really going to have to get a strong restart here as we're inside that go zone at the end here. And Comstock going to have to really do everything he can to defend himself. And 13 Dwayne Vincent going to have to stay right on him. Outside, not really the place to be, especially with the 23 of Greg Evans being up there on the high side. It's been a little bit sleepy on the restarts, if you will. Evan, it's really going to have to be Dwayne Vincent going all or nothing here. No more give and take, all grab and go here at this point here at the Pocono 188.
And this next restart looks like it may put us almost right at about 10 laps to go. Going to be 11 to go this next time by across the start-finish line. We work lap 65 out of 76 in our scheduled distance. The time restriction not going to be any concern, so no issues getting these next 12 or so laps in. So that has something that rarely, but has in the past on few occasions come into a factor. Not going to be a situation tonight, and something that just makes the race feel a lot longer, guys, is you're going 75 miles an hour first off on a caution. That's a good speed. But you talk about the configuration of this racetrack, 2.5 miles long. You're going so far away from the front stretch when you hit that tunnel turn. These guys are rated about 2 minutes per every single pace lap. That's a lot of time for guys up front to try to make some strategies, Brian. Maybe try to scheme if you're Dwayne Vincent and think about what you want to do. However, for the drivers that maybe haven't had quite the best last go at it in the final quarter of this race, Pedro Mojica and Chad Cole, it gives you a lot of time to think about the maybe missed opportunity there in these last couple of laps with that pit strategy.
Yeah, I definitely think for Chad Cole and Pedro Mojica, they're probably kicking themselves and probably wondering why their crew chiefs even brought them to pit road in the first place. They're not going to get back up front now at this point, being 8th and 9th, and we might at the best get one more, if we get another caution, get one more restart, but we won't go back green past that. As for Dwayne Vincent, he needs to be trying to figure out something. He's in the points as far as making the chase is concerned, but a win would lock him in, and he really needs that to try to guarantee himself a spot in the chase. Not that I think he's going to fall out based on points, but a win just makes you feel that much better, and then he can go take chances at some other tracks and try to get a few more wins locked up. So for him, I'm sure they're down there trying to figure out something and figure out a way where they can maybe try to snooker David and steal this away from him here in the closing stages. These other guys, they've all got to try to figure out something as well. So like you said, there's plenty of time. I'm sure they're talking to their crew chiefs, they're talking to their spotters, they're trying to figure out something they can do to try to steal this away from David.
We talked about Dwayne Vincent a little bit earlier on, that car who has an average start of 11th and an average finish of 11.1. Not spectacular numbers, no win in the win column, but has the most top 10s and the most top 5s out of everybody else. Now David Comstock, Jeff Ward, 3 wins, 1 win apiece. They have a better average start, but not as good as an average finish. So we talked about killing them with consistency. We've talked to Dwayne a couple times throughout the season, Justin, up there on the podium a lot. And, just asked them on how that team runs strong and, what they're thinking of the good results. And they'll take it. They're not going to object to a top 10, a top 5 night, but you got to look at the, the mindset maybe behind the wheel of that 13 right now. You've come so close so many times this year. Sure, you'll probably be okay points-wise coming into the little bit of the end of the season here, but in reality, you're so close that you can nearly taste this win. I wouldn't be surprised if we really see him throw the kitchen sink at it, trying to get something going.
He very well may be, but you have to remember that Dwayne Vincent got that taste of victory lane last night for the Captain Herb Emery Memorial in the same Gen 6 cars, but at the Atlanta Motor Speedway last night on LSRTV. So Dwayne Vincent, no stranger to victory lane, but you really have to think now that he's tasted it, he's probably going to want to taste it now in the real sim racing series and punch his ticket to the chase for the RSR Garry Mercer Trucking Inc. Full Throttle Series Cup. But I got to tell you, Evan, as the lights are off on the pace car, he's going to have to just about time it to perfection so that he doesn't pass Comstock before the stripe, but still have enough of a run that he can really cement himself on the outside going into 1, and then it's really going to be Vincent's race to lose out of turn 1 onto the Long Pond straightaway the next time by.
We will restart at lap 68 of 76. It is going to be a 9-lap to go restart from the virtual Pocono Raceway to possibly decide for the final time who walks away tonight with the checker in the Pocono 188. Still a significant amount of time inside that 10-lap window for at least one more restart, depending on when that caution flag may fly. If a caution does drop within the final 4 laps of any competition, without the green-white checker in the system, no other shot at it, and this race would end under caution flag conditions. That would require us to go about 4 laps or so if we restart at the latest possible time, which is something that we haven't done in these latter stages. We got that green flag stretch, we saw the pit strategy, but you still have 32 drivers on the lead lap chasing down spots, points, and some of them a checkered flag. Don't expect them to take it easy on each other, and they're going to be using every little bit of this front straightaway as they possibly can. The base car down and away for possibly the final time tonight. Comstock in control of the field. Green flag flies down to quarter number 1. Good restart, but not brilliant by that 13. Here comes Nick Silver, though.
Nick Silver onto the inside of Dwayne Vincent. Vincent probably going to play Mr. Consistent and falls back almost to the 4 spot going into turn number 1. Nick Silver clears that 13 and really takes the 13 of Vincent right up the racetrack right now. Caution, and it got a big wreck behind the field here going into turn number 1, and the caution flag waving once again on lap 68 here. Caution flag out, going to set us up for about a 4-lap run to the checkers.
It'll be the final yellow we see, and it's going to set us up for one last restart, but the names involved in this one, not the first time tonight. Again, just some of these guys cannot catch a break, and this time 4 wide down to quarter number 1. You'll take a look at the replay on the LSRTV replay right here. It's 4 wide, 48 down low, 33.91 in the 9 car up against the fence, and David Lanza looks like the 48 came up on him. Kevin Linden was down on the white line, but you can't really trace that white line, Brian, all the way through the corner. 48 jumped up the slightest bit. He clipped the 33. Lanza goes up. He gets into Gottschalk. He takes out the 20 of Coleman, who yet again involved in another incident. 3-4 cars and back under yellow.
Yeah, the thing about this track is we don't have the repaved surface like they have in real life yet, so that track is extremely bumpy going off into turn 1, and it looks like the 48 hit the bumps as he was going off into the corner, and it just shot his car up the track into the 33, and unfortunately for the 33 and the 91, there was just nowhere for them to go, and the same thing with Chad Cole and Matt Lacrosse behind them. It was just an unfortunate set of circumstances, and I'm sure these guys are really hoping we get the repaved version here soon.
Well, the caution flag flies once again. We will head towards that 5 lap to go number by the time we go back. Green flag racing. We pace behind the iRacing.com first Ford Mustang pace car, David Comstock, with the lack of the pit strategy, staying out late, getting back to the top spot after he was going backwards. May just be the man to beat here. The 14 machine looking to hang on late. We'll step away for the final time and take a caution flag of our own during racing flying conditions. Go LSRTV side by side, and we'll bring you back for the restart on LSRTV.
Truex is your winner over Tandy.
back live at the Pocono Raceway. The lights are off on top of the iRacing.com first Ford Mustang pace car, and what could be, for the final time it'll be on track tonight. One thing we can guarantee, it is going to be the final shot at a green flag finish. Restart coming up, and at the start-finish line, going to be 4 laps to go at this 2.5-mile triangular speedway. Comstock in the top spot. Over second has been a revolving door on these last couple of restarts. This time, Nick Silver going to get his shot at it. Could that Ford Service, Ford Fusion break through to get this one, gentlemen? We could very well end under caution, and if these last few restarts are going to be any sort of indicative of what we see now, that may very well be the case, but David Comstock needs to nail maybe just one more restart.
David Comstock needs to really hit that restart, like you said, Evan, and really Nick Silver going to have to go just when he thinks the pace car is going to die to pit road. That's going to be his only prayer to get around the outside of the 14 on the restart. 4 laps to go. Next flag going to end the race. And with that said, folks, as we rack them, stack them, get ready to fire them off for the last time here tonight, the Ford First Racing pace car dives to the safety of pit road. It's David Comstock on the loud pedal, and it's all Comstock right to the stripe, but Nick Silver gets a really good restart there. The 23 of Greg Evans shoving the 13 of Dwayne Vincent. His car is spanning out 3, 4, 5, 6 wide almost now. Car in the wall. Nick Cohan caution out. It is over.
Oh, we're wrecking all over the place.
It is over. Wrecking all over the place going into turn number 1. We'll get the updated running order for you here in just a couple of moments. But that's going to be the 4th win on the season for the 14 of David Comstock, and several drivers still wrecking down in turn number 1.
I'll tell you, if it wasn't Cohan's wreck that would have ended it, it would have been Coleman's wreck, then it would have been Greg Evans' wreck, then it would have been the 27, Paul Nicholas Cooper's wreck. So if one of them didn't trigger the yellow, we had 3 other shots at it. Absolute pandemonium down to quarter number 1 for the final time. And caution flag is out after Nicholas Cohan's machine. The number 53 is the first one to go around. He was in one of the more calm battles on the racetrack. However, ended up the hill, and he just came over the nose of the 22 in the fence, and he spun down the racetrack, got clobbered by Doug Roth back up the hill, and then again they continued to wreck for quite some time down through the always treacherous quarter number 1. That's all she wrote, though. Nick Silver, doesn't matter how good of a restart it was, guys, didn't get a shot at it. Was the best restart from a car in second we had seen in these last 25 laps or so, where it was the caution fever late in the race with everybody going at it, in a spot where he would have had to just throw it to the outside. Probably would have ended up with him in the fence, but he had a theoretical shot at it. Never got a chance to swing for it. He ducked in line behind Comstock. They wrecked down to quarter number 1, and right now they're still working on catching the pace car. They work lap 74, so 2 laps to go this next time by. No chance of getting another American Ethanol restart in the air. So as long as David Comstock doesn't have any sort of catastrophic issue here on these next 2 laps of caution flag and pacing here down through the checkered flag, he'll get it on a call that we were talking before that final pit stop. He was going backwards. The cars around him, Greg Evans, who was in second, we thought was challenging for the lead. The 23 was going backwards. They were 3rd and 4th. The top 2 pitted. They made the right call, and it's a pit strategy machine that's going to be able to get the job done with David Comstock. He catches the pace car in 1. Hang on to her for 5 more miles. You're set to rock and roll, but, out of everything at Pocono, it comes down to not the crazy restarts, although that had a factor in it late, but it came down to the pit strategy.
The pit strategy is going to put David Comstock in victory lane. Smart call by that 14 Aftermath Motorsports crew, along with the 25 of Nick Silver, and along with the 13 of Dwayne Vincent. Several cars all damaged on pit road. About 10, 12 cars or so left on the racetrack at this point here, as we'll get the white flag next time by with the yellow flag waving as well. Remember, the finish will be under review for drivers like the 13 of Dwayne Vincent and the 24 of Stefan Marinac, as there was an unclaimed caution there in the early stages of this race.
There's not a whole lot of cars left as they continue to limp around and catch up to the back end of the pace car. Comstock, who started in 4th, and there were times in this race where almost the entire makeup of the top 10 were drivers that started way back. Well, it looks like the cream rose to the top once again late. Only 3 drivers inside the top 5 did not start in a single-digit position. I'll throw Jonathan Cadell into those guys as well because he only started in 11th. 2 big movers, though. Rich Jett, quiet, sneaky, that 36, started 35th. He'll come home 10th. He's up 25 spots. And then as well, Nick Silver's machine continuing to be strong, almost in a situation, Brian, as we've seen Dwayne Vincent. He comes strong. That team, I think, and we've said it, and he's spoken about it too, if they can pick up on their qualifying as the white flag is in the air because they started in 25th, another top 5 for that team with the P2, if they can just work on that qualifying, I have a feeling we'll be seeing a lot more in that machine up front.
Yeah, for them to have qualified 25th and to have managed to come all the way up to the 2nd position, that is absolutely incredible to finish that well at this track. This is a track position track. Tires are not as important here as you'll see them be at other tracks. And they did an incredible job getting up through the field, avoiding all the wrecks and all the mayhem that we saw tonight, and did an absolutely incredible job getting up there. I know he wanted that race to stay green, so he had a shot at David there, and I'm sure that if they continue to plug along and try to go after it, they're eventually going to get a win. Same thing with Dwayne Vincent. They're consistently front runners, top 5, top 10s like we spoke about earlier. He's got the points to make the chase. At this point, I feel like he's comfortable enough or safe enough to where he could go out there and try to steal some wins instead of trying to be the dominant car. I don't know that Dwayne will do that. I've raced with him for a long time, and he's not much of a risk taker, but he could if he wanted to because he's certainly got the points. There's a lot of guys in this series that have a lot of speed and a lot of talent and could certainly pull it off if they try hard enough.
And a lot of drivers had to come through a lot of adversity in this one to get to where they were late, put themselves in a spot for the 25. He was in the spot, but just did not have enough time to be able to get the job done. We know that Pocono is always so hard to drive at. If you use 2014's race as any precedent, you had a realistic expectation of not going green for 75 laps. It was a fight of attrition. It was a night of survival. And at the end of it all, only one driver is able to stand on top of the pile. In it all, he's not even going to be able to take the points lead, but it's his 4th checkered flag on the year. The Pocono 188 goes in favor of David Comstock, your winner tonight in the Poconos. After starting inside the top 5, the Aftermath Motorsport Chevrolet closes out the deal late, guys. Only one other driver has multiple wins. That's Thomas J. George with 2. That 14 machine has 4. He's not even atop the points. Spectacular. You talk about insurance, getting 1 win, locking yourself into the chase. 2 if you want to be real safe. How about 4 so far in 12 races for David Comstock? 1/3 is what he's batting. He's batting a .333 right now as far as taking home 1 out of every 3 races he does. Great start to this campaign, and 14 chugging along with another great performance.
And that really is going to cement his status at the top of the points for the chase when the chase does kick off in September, just after the race at the Richmond International Raceway in September here on LSRTV. So David Comstock, once again, congratulations to him, and he's really just cementing his status as one of the elite drivers to beat, especially the way it looks as we creep towards the chase season.
You take a look at number 14, some of their statistics on the evening. One thing that he wants to do is bring her around, and he'll burn it down on the front straightaway. Something that is becoming a recurring sight on Monday evenings. David Comstock, strong in the latter stages of 2014, full-time 2015, and he is here to play. 4th checkered flag on the 2015 campaign in 12 races. David Comstock, yet again, a winner in Real Sim Racing Full Throttle Cup Series presented by Garry Mercer Trucking Competition. He'll celebrate his win, he'll get it to victory lane, and we'll get some microphones down onto the pit lane. The LSRTV post-race recap from Pocono coming up in just a few moments. Keep it locked here on LSRTV.
2X in the outside, contact made. 56 slides in at a 4. Who's going to be at the stripe? Dead even, give it to Ryan Truex. Truex is your winner over Tandy.
Back live at the Pocono Raceway, checkered flag has been thrown, and it is David Comstock who walks away victorious as he takes the checker and the yellow behind the iRacing.com Ford First Mustang pace car. Your winner tonight in round 12 in the RSR Full Throttle Cup Series campaign. The Pocono 188 goes in the direction of the number 14 team. Down on the pit lane with the driver that started P8 tonight, who ends up coming home with a third place finish, Brian Macklin. You have caught up with Dwayne Vincent, who rounds out our podium.
Yep, Dwayne, you finished third, and once again, you were so close to victory lane you could almost taste it. What was it like trying to battle and trying to go through all those restarts, trying to get past David and Nick, and trying to steal this win away? We know how much you want to win a race here on Monday nights.
Yeah, man, that was heartbreaking, man. It was so tough. You couldn't get into a rhythm, and this is such a rhythm track for me anyways. But, yeah, we just had a bunch of drag races down to turn one. It seemed like all night long, man. But, I mean, we'll take third. I'm happy with it, but I need a win. It's time to quit messing around and get a win.
Well, you've certainly got the points to make the chase in the Full Throttle Cup Series. That doesn't seem to be an issue. Are you going to start taking some risks down the stretch and try to steal a win instead of just settling for second and third and whatnot throughout the rest of the season?
I'm going to try anything possible. Anything.
There you go. And any sponsors you want to give a shout out to? Any friends or family you want to say about or talk about?
Roll Speed Dynamics, all the guys that went up Motorsports, good group of guys there. LSRTV, everything they do, all the guys with RSR, mom and dad, and that's about it. We appreciate it.
All right, Dwayne, and we appreciate you putting on a great show. That was your third place finisher, Dwayne Vincent. Now we are going to move further down pit road, where I believe Justin Rosenau has caught up with your runner-up finisher.
Alongside the driver of the Ford Service Ford Fusion, number 25, that's Nick Silver. Nick, you brought it home on the middle step of the podium here tonight. Tell us about that run, and did you think if you could have had the run last maybe a lap or so longer, did you think you had enough to get around the 14 of Comstock?
No, honestly, I'm not too sure. I was pretty thankful for where I was. I feel I had about a 20th place car, and I was lucky to be in the top 10 pretty much the whole race. So I wasn't about to get greedy.
Being consistency following in the steps of drivers like Dwayne Vincent, what's the next step for you to really make that step up to reach the elite level of drivers such as Jeff Ward in the gang that you see run up front and win most nights here in the Full Throttle Cup Series?
Well, I think two things for me. First of all, I got to start qualifying a little better, which I need to figure out what the heck's going on with that. But also finishing, I had about 5 or 6 races there in a row, 2 months that I just couldn't finish a race clean to save my life. So as long as we finish, then, that's the first step.
Claimed luck aside, Nick, sponsor shoutouts, who really makes it happen for you on the 25?
I got to thank my sponsor, Santa Maria Ford, my teammates at Prestige Worldwide, Sean Casto, and Rich Jet. You guys in RSR for putting it on, and I got to say hi to my parents, mom and dad. They're actually watching the race every week.
That's the driver who finished second tonight, Nick Silver, with a great run in that 25 Ford Fusion Ford service machine. And down to Gatorade Victory Lane we go. Evan Pasoko, you got tonight's winner, David Comstock.
He's got now, if you add to the tally, 8 top 5s and 9 top 10s. He's tied with the points leader. The big difference, though, that win column. For the 4th time on this 2015 campaign, a checkered flag goes in the direction of David Comstock. David, what gives this team the ability to put themselves in a spot and just finish it off there? You were running third, top 2 come down pit road, and you jumped out at the last second there, and that turned out to be the right call for you.
It's just the team overall. They provide me really good cars each and every week, and the car was just really stable. Whether we put 4 tires or 2 tires on it, we had that one green flag run, and we were hanging tough with the guys that pitted behind us, and we're on 4 tires, and we had that green flag run.
You guys capitalized late. Pocono is a very interesting track. We knew it was going to be a rough one, a battle of attrition, a battle of survival, whatever you want to sum it up as coming into it, based on what we've seen in the past and, just the nature of this facility. You guys were 4th in practice. You qualified right on par with that P4. You didn't have to do a whole lot of digging back there, but you had an interesting call a little bit earlier on, sent you back in a pack. That 14 machine had to work through a lot of traffic, something that a lot of people couldn't do. Where was this car so strong? Maybe where you saw some of these other guys really struggling at.
Well, I have to give Brendan Mercer a big shout out. He was pulling double duty tonight. He was not only driving his own car, but he was pulling strategy for me. It was his call that made me win this race, put me in position at least to have a shot at winning it. And I mean, the car, it was starting to fall off a bit off the corners. It was getting freer with those 2 tires I had, and Pedro had 4 and just had let him go, and we had that caution. So the car was just really stout. It was stable no matter where I put it. Clean air, dirty air, I can just manage it how I wanted to.
You guys knock off a 4th one in 12 official points race events so far, so it's a a 1 for 3rd batting average, we'll call it there. You guys saving some for when it comes chase time still?
I'm not gonna say we are if we're not. I mean, there's a couple races I feel we should have also won. I feel we can have more wins on that tally, but we're just at the point where we know we're locked in. So long as we don't fall out of the top 30, we have enough wins to where we can get in on that. If we happen to fall at the top 16, so we can be risk takers if we wanted to more.
Well, the good news for you guys is you're competitive at so many different kinds of racetracks. You tamed the Pocono Raceway this evening for the 4th time, a checkered flag to this team this season. Sponsors and shout-outs, all of those good people who allows you to come out here and do what you do week in and week out.
Absolutely. Would like to thank Garry Mercer Trucking and Moss Energy for being on board every single week, and Timmy Hill Motorsports for providing us the team to come out here and run in the Real Sim Racing League Series. But thank you to them for providing a really good league to come to every single week. And my main team at Aftermath Motorsports for allowing me to come over here and compete here. And thank you guys for broadcasting this race at LSRTV.
Well, Dave, we want to thank you for taking the time to talk to us. It's starting to become a recurring theme. We wish you guys the best of luck. Again, congratulations to you. Congratulations to the team as well for not only running strong, but putting that 14 in victory lane. Best of luck next week. We'll see you at MIS.
Appreciate it. Thank you also to JD Laird for painting our cars every week.
And it was a sharp-looking number 14 that ended up in victory lane. Guys, David Comstock. What can you say? We talk about, last season's championship run. Brundy's heated up when he needed to. Don't want this 14 to burn it all out early, but he's sure looking mighty fast.
Yeah, he really is. He really is the driver to beat here in the Full Throttle Cup Series so far in this part of the season. Can't really, say too much else about the rest of the field other than that 89 of Jeff Ward. He actually climbed his way up into the top 10, finishing 8th tonight with heavy damage on the front end of that Unical 76 ride. So those 2 drivers have really been the class of the field thus far in the Full Throttle Cup Series in 2015, and really who's going to be the next driver to really emerge and really show their hand as who can be strong when it really counts in September.
Brian, we look forward on this 2015 campaign right back in the saddle at what was going to be Michigan. However, actually Dover had that race was actually postponed. We were supposed to be off this upcoming Monday, so the schedule shift is going to give us to the Monster Mile next week, followed by Michigan the following week on the 22nd, a little bit later on in this month. Want to give us a quick preview maybe on what we expect at those tracks?
Well, Dover is one of the toughest tracks to go to and to try to log laps and race at. It's by far one of the most challenging tracks these drivers will tackle during their season. You're going to see a lot of what we saw tonight, most likely, a lot of wrecks and unfortunately a lot of caution flags. It's a very tough track to race side by side at. Michigan, on the other hand, should be a really, really exciting race. There's a lot of racing room. There's plenty of opportunities to go 2 and 3 wide. I expect that the Michigan race is going to be a lot of fun to watch and should put on one heck of a show. Got to say, I'm really impressed, like everybody else was saying, with David Comstock. He has just by far been the class of the field so far, and these are 2 tracks that we're coming up to that he is really strong at, so I fully expect him to go in there and have a shot to get a couple more wins as we go into the next few weeks.
Yeah, we congratulated him on 4 wins, Justin, and he said he thinks they should have even more than that. Final thoughts on what was a Pocono-esque race here tonight?
Pocono-esque or not, you really have to like the statement coming out of David Comstock's mouth, and really, barring a couple of incidents in later races, he may even actually have upwards of 6 or 7 wins thus far this year. So, what really was, like you said, a Pocono-esque race, it's really all or nothing. A lot of drivers found nothing. Well, the driver that found all, well, he put himself in victory lane again here tonight, and we'll have to see if he can take that momentum over to the Monster Mile at Dover next week on Monday night.
And that's exactly what he plans to do, and we hope you join us next Monday evening on LSRTV. Before we get to our next Full Throttle Cup Series event, a lot coming up on LSRTV. Wednesday night, more RSR action. We have iSuperspeedway.com Racing Series action as well on Friday. For all of our upcoming broadcast information and all that good stuff, please check us out online, livesimracing.com, or through Facebook at facebook.com/livesimracingtv. For post-race recaps, news, and any other press coming out of our camp, make sure to check with our partners at Race Chaser Online, at racechaseronline.com, or through iRacing at iracing.com/iRacing News. Until next time, on behalf of the LSRTV broadcast crew this evening, alongside myself, Evan Pasoko, Justin Rose now, our driver analyst, Brian Macklin, and our executive producer, Laura Lawson, thank you so much for tuning in. Congratulations to David Comstock, number 4 on the year tonight. He takes home the Pocono 188. Until next time, everybody have a safe time, and we'll see you at the Monster Mile next Monday night on LSRTV.